what's your experience with flat earthers then?
Flat earthers, oh man, there's a wrestler, right, and I don't know if you're familiar with wrestling, with pro wrestling.
Aye.
There's a guy who wrestles in America now called Moose, and he was the first ever flat earther that I met.
Was it like recently?
No, it was about 5 years ago or something like that I met him, and I didn't even know flat earthers existed at the time.
It's funny how you remember your first flat earther.
Mate, honestly. See, the thing is, I had spoke to the guy all night, and he was a gentleman.
Is he Scottish?
No, he's American.
American.
He's an ex-NFL player. He played in the NFL.
Right.
And he's as tall as he is wide, man. He's massive.
Is he big?
Aye, you should look him up, man. Just look him up. Moose, TNA.
Moose, TNA?
Aye. What Moose as in the big animal. And that
Aye.
gives you an idea. If he's got that name, you know what kind of size he is.
Let's see.
He's fucking huge, man.
Oh, he was big, isn't he?
He's a big guy. Big guy. I think he's
Looks a bit like who's that actor? Terry
Crews.
Terry Crews. Got a bit of that look about him.
That's terrible, man. Nah, he's he's a nice guy, but do you know that way the minute he started talking like that, I was like,
did they break you in first? Was he warming you up, or did they just go right into it? Just straight in with it?
No, it was, we were just talking at the back of the garage, actually. No, in fact it wasn't, it was in Edinburgh. We were in Edinburgh and we were just talking, and somebody said something, and he just come out with, I believe that the earth's flat. And I was like, right, this guy's a screwball.
Aye. That's the old have a good night, mate. Enjoy yourself.
Exactly, it's no, you don't want to like go, wait a minute, you're talking shit.
That's it. That's the fucking first mistake I made.
Aye.
Was inciting a question.
That's it. Exactly.
Because then you know it's just they're going to just hit you and bombard you with facts.
Well, no facts.
But the funny thing, you know what always amused me is right, the whole story is right, everything they've taught you's a lie, right, and I'm going to prove that what they've taught you is a lie by the things that they taught me. So it's always like maths. It's like they always go back to maths and trigonometry and why it does this and why it does that. And it's like, but you can't. It's not a Chinese buffet. You can't say, right, it's nonsense because of this, and then use the same thing that you're trying to slate as evidence. I'm like, it doesn't work like that.
No, but I think that like facts can be very, very distorted to anybody's point of view. You know what I mean? See, if they've got a base in facts, they can then grow arms and legs and just say whatever they want. It's like me talking about football. I start with the truth and then it just goes off at a fucking tangent. You know what I mean? But it's you know, each to their own. Believe what you want, but don't try and force it down my throat.
Aye.
That's it. I'll stick to what the scientists say, mate.
Well, I remember the first guy I spoke to, and I'm like a really, really accomplished guy, like really built it yourself out the blue. I thought, well, that caught me off guard. So I'd heard about people talking about flat Earth, and I was a big fan of Bob Lazar. So he was the guy that worked on the UFO in S4 in Nevada. 30 years he stuck to the same story. He was slated. Right, and I followed that. I was like, this is fascinating because I was big into science and he was a science guy.
Not a single thing changed in his
Never,
story.
Ever skipped a beat. And then everything that he said slowly started to come out.
Well, that's when you know somebody's telling the truth, because a great quote that I love is, no man's got a good enough memory to be a successful liar.
Yeah.
So see, if you stick to the truth, then you know that when you're recalling that story, you know it is fact. So there's no point in lying, because somewhere down the line you're going to get caught out.
He never ever skipped a beat. And the thing that, like, all the usual sort of tricks was like making money out of fame, stardom, all that sort of stuff. He was like not interested in the slightest, and every single thing that he said was verbatim what he said 30 years before. And it's like you say, you go, look, that's when you know somebody's you know walking the walk, or just talking the talk.
But and then again, you're that's a conspiracy theory that we want to believe. You know what I mean? Like Nevada, Area 51, is it?
Area 51.
That kind of thing is something that I want to believe. So I don't know if we're kind of predisposed to, I want to believe this, so I'll listen to the people that have got the same viewpoint as me. I like to be able to see it for both sides. You know, like, just a wee aside now, it's just been announced that Piers Morgan's going to be interviewing the actual Martha for Baby Reindeer. So he's got her on his show, and you're going to get her side of the story now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the way she's been painted as a fucking lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
So folk are just going to dismiss her story regardless of what she says. You know what I mean? It's always good to have a balanced view for both sides, man.
But that's what we always done on the episodes, because that was the thing. As I said to Mike, is right. See when I'm looking at companies, right? Companies are fucking lying to you, right? They're telling you the best version of events, and very rarely is what they present to you what's actually going on under the hood, so to speak. So it's like when you look at companies that you're planning to invest, there's a bit like you're a bit like a detective. You're trying to find where the bullshit is, and the best way to do it is to argue both sides. So you make a case for and you make a case against. You get a shake, and then out in the middle comes what's actually going on, and that's the best way to look at these things. But it's like you say, it's the ones that are. You know, we want to think. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we were like, we've uncovered the UFO?
Aye.
Like that's a business.
See, the thing is, like, I know it's not all about that, but the amount of money that they could make from announcing it, you know what I mean? It's not all about money, but money's a massive factor in everything. You know, well, you know yourself, you're an investor, you don't do it for fuck all. But if they've got hard, solid facts that's there, why not just say, look, this is what we've got, we've been in touch, they're looking after us from afar, or whatever, or they're watching us from afar. Aye, alright, folk are going to freak out, but the fact that you know there's no two ways about it kind of thing, you know, you've got the facts there, and it would just, I think it would stop quite a lot of the folk that are like, oh no, but then you think to yourself, there's always going to be dissenting voices, even if you've got the proof. Like you said there, if you sat proof in front of somebody, there's always going to be one person that says, no, that's a lot of shite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
there was a KGB agent that defected in the 70s, and he'd said that it was only 3 months it took to hit, if you hit a population with propaganda in 3 months' time, if you hit them continually with the same message, that after that point, it didn't matter what you presented as evidence, they wouldn't believe it because they were that programmed into the message. And that's what you get. You get people that just, it doesn't matter how much evidence you hit them with, they're just never going to change their mind. They're stuck in their ways.
You look at, I mean, how long is a presidential campaign trail in America?
Yep.
Now, people before Trump started running for the presidency, they would have called, like, in fact, he actually slated the Republicans all the time. He said, if I was ever going to run for the presidency, I would run as a Republican because they're the stupid ones. That's what he said. Yep. That's an actual quote for Donald Trump back in the day, right? Now, it's target the lowest common denominator because you can make them see your viewpoint, like you said, in a minimal amount of time. And they take it as fact, they take it as bread and butter. So that's what he's done. He's done that. He's went in. I don't really like to talk about politics, right? But the whole point here is proving what you've just said there. You know, you can brainwash people, you can mind wash them, and then you look at it, he's not in the presidency anymore. Alright, he's running again for another term. He's hoping to get back in. But you look at what he's done, and they people believed everything he's done, and they're mind washed, and they'll follow him to the gates of hell, regardless. But if they go back and actually look at his quotes for before he ran for the presidency, he targeted them in the way that you're saying there. Propaganda, 3 months, that's it, mind warped, and they believe it is gospel.
But the whole thing with politics was always, it didn't matter if you voted for the left or the right, it was the government was always getting in.
Aye.
Right, it's two cheeks of the same arse. So you can pick whatever one you like.
Absolutely.
Right, but the people that are actually running the whole show, they don't care who you're voting for.
It's a figurehead.
They don't. They're like that. It's the illusion that you've got a choice, or illusion that your vote counts. And in reality, like it's proven that you go, look, you take a step back and you go, look, do they actually influence any changes? Like, no, they don't. They don't make any changes, and it's this pantomime that continues to go on. It's just he's behind you sort of story where it's just they make the villain to one side and the other. You're too busy watching this Punch and Judy sort of thing to worry about what's going on at the levels above.
I think you're right what you're saying there, right? But there's no grey area anymore. It's black or white. There's no middle ground anymore. You know what I mean? There used to be a middle ground. Aye, all right, America's always had the two-party, what do you call it, system, two-party system, right? But even over here now, there's no middle ground. There used to be, like, the Liberal Democrats were like kind of the middle ground kind of thing. You know what I mean? You had Labour, you had the Tories, right? And you kind of had the Lib Dems in the middle who were, they kind of took the best parts of both, but because they alienated one side and the other, nobody would take the chance to vote for them kind of thing. And then they went into the coalition with the Tories, and then that's it. There's no middle ground anymore. Yep.
That's the thing is that the worst thing that you could ever have is, if you want to, it comes back for Roman times. So in Roman times, it was the rule of divide and conquer. So if you wanted to rule masses, you couldn't. If they all got together, you were fucked. You were completely fucked. So the Romans used the tactics to divide and conquer, get them to fight each other, split them up, get them to fight each other, and it's just these pockets that sort of pick a side, and they're constantly fighting each other, and you can gather them all up. And it's the same strategy that's at play. And you say to people, like, this is what you're talking about evidence. Like, I'll give you a cracker. So I was like saying to somebody, like, do you know that the government controls your behaviour through programming? Like, no, they can't do that. Like, what if I showed you a document? Like, would it change your mind? Nah, it would be in the news. So you go into the Cabinet Office, own website, go and download the Mindspace PDF, and it's got literally a map of the brain of how they're going to influence your thoughts so that they can get a result from you in a particular way. I can't believe it. I'm like, well, it's there. It's actually on their website. And their whole concept is, if you're too thick to work this out, then you deserve to be ruled. That's why they don't need hot chocolate at night to go to sleep. They're like, if you are really that dumb, then you obviously need somebody to take care of the decisions.
But they probably will have hot chocolate because they'll have seen an advert for it on the telly.
True. That is true. There's been programming the old KGB agents like that. He's got the shares in the hot chocolate company.
It's funny you say that, because my missus can't go to bed without a cup of hot chocolate before she goes to sleep.
That was maybe something in that. Maybe an advert a few years ago.
A few years ago, she's got it on repeat on YouTube.
That's it. So take us back to the start. We touched on you had a bit of a foray into the world of wrestling.
Oh, it starts before then, actually. How I get into wrestling? I mean, like, going back to...
Were you a wrestling fan as a kid?
Ah, mate, come on.
Who was
my man? I always liked the baddies, man.
Did you?
I always liked the baddies. My two favourites were Mr. Perfect and the $1 Million Man.
Oh, you were right into the heels then.
Everybody loved Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and stuff like that, but I always liked Mr. Perfect and the $1 Million Man. I don't know why. I just kind of... I remember the very first time that I ever watched wrestling, right? I was down in my auntie's in Blackpool, and we went into a video shop, because obviously, like, when we were kids, the adults would go out at night and we would get watched. So they would take us to the video shop, and I seen...
Normal watched or sinister watched?
Normal watched.
Right, okay.
No, there was no spectres in the corner. Remember that, you know what I mean? But it was, we went into a video shop, and I seen Hulk. It was WrestleMania 6, so it was Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior. I was like, who the fuck are they? That looks good. And I looked at the back, and they're not fucking each other. I was like, right, I want to get this, and I sat down and watched it, and that was it, man.
Correct.
That was it for there on. And funnily enough, right after, because that was the summer holidays, we went back to school, and my mates, my big mate Eugene, he come up to my house, and he had these two wrestling figures, and it was Andre the Giant, and I think it actually was Hulk Hogan. And I was like, oh man, I was watching Hulk Hogan down there, and he's like, no, you weren't. Because you couldn't get it here. You know what I mean?
But he didn't think you could get the video?
No, he's like, you couldn't get the videos like up here, and it wasn't on Sky yet. But these wrestling figures were out, and he'd get videos for like America or whatever. He's like, no, you weren't. I was like, I was, man, it was him versus the Ultimate Warrior. But he didn't have a great knowledge yet, and he was like, well, they've not ever had a fight yet. I was like, I'll show you. But
he thought you were a conspiracy theorist of the wrestling, did he?
No, but I had bought, funnily enough, when I was down in Blackpool, I had got a t-shirt of it, because we were going through a market in Blackpool, and I seen the t-shirt, and I was like, oh, get me the t-shirt, and I had the t-shirt, and it was just basically, somebody had got the cover of the video and printed it on a t-shirt, but I was like, that's for me.
Somebody hustling back in the day, thinking I'll make a few quid off this.
Exactly. So I got that, and I says, look, I've got a t-shirt, and he was like, right, okay. So he get the figures, and then I'm like, Mum, got toys out, they've got wrestling toys out now. And the very first one I ever got was Akeem. I only got one. I only had one wrestler. You would think she would have bought me two. You know what I mean? So that I could play against. But I only get one.
So who was Akeem?
He used to be called the One Man Gang, right? But Vince McMahon hated Dusty Rhodes, so he wanted to make a parody of Dusty Rhodes. Like Dusty Rhodes was a white guy, but he was into soul music and all that, and he would do all the funky dancing and shit like that. And it was called the American Dream, right? So they brought through Akeem and they called him the African Dream, but they done it as a white man, right? And he was wearing the whole African regalia and all of that. And
so he's a white dude pretending to be a black dude?
No, he's a white dude pretending to be... He's not pretending to be black, but he's got all the mannerisms of a black guy.
Right.
And he's doing all the dancing and all that Dusty Rhodes used to do. So, but the reason I got him was because my favourite colour's always been yellow, right? There wasn't a Hulk Hogan figure there, and he wore a big yellow jersey. I was like, I'll get him.
Was he a heel at this point? Was he a baddie?
Because on the WrestleMania 6 video that I got, he wrestled the Big Boss Man. And because the Big Boss Man was a Polish, and even as a kid I hated the Polish, do you know what I mean? So I was like, right, I'll get him. But I got him, and that was the start. I ended up having the whole lot of them, and it's been passed on to my boy as well. See, my boy's got one of the ottoman beds, and if you lift it, and this is no word to a lie, mate, this is not an exaggeration, there's about maybe 12 grand worth of wrestling figures in his bed. Aye, man. A lot of wrestling figures.
How many figures would that be?
He's got over 900, hasn't he, Sammy?
900 figures?
900.
Size of the bed?
It's a small double.
Is it?
But it's, you know the size of wrestling.
Aye.
See, if I had to say to him, go and get me that figure, it would take him about an hour to find it. There's loads of them, man. There's loads of them. But that was my big thing growing up. My first love was Masters of the Universe, man. Right, and I still love that to this day. But wrestling figures.
You met Masters? Is that a cartoon?
He-Man.
Masters
of the Universe.
I'm just racking my brain there. I'm like, it's in there somewhere.
Aye, Masters of the Universe and Thundercats and the A-Team. That was my three things when I was growing up. Until I found wrestling, and then they all get put to the side, and it was wrestling for them.
Right.
So I went to my mate Gavin Bradley's stag do, and it was at Hamilton Races, and I had been talking to Robert Florence for Burniston, and like he does Burniston and the Scots and stuff like that. He's an actor, a comedy actor, so Burniston's a sketch show. It's on the BBC. So I'd been tweeting him the night before, and he had said he was going to Hamilton Races, and I'd went, oh, I'm going to be there as well. So we were standing watching a race, and I got a tap on the shoulder, and it was Rob Florence, and I was like, how you doing, mate? He says, oh, brilliant. He says, I've got a screening of They Live. Have you seen that?
No.
Mate, see if you've not seen They Live and you're into conspiracy theories and stuff like that, I highly recommend it. It still stands up to this day. Movie made in the either late 80s or early 90s, and it's about the government mind control.
Oh, really?
It's brilliant. It's a classic film, and funnily enough, it's got a wrestler in it.
How long ago was it?
I think, see if you just type in They Live, it'll come up, because it's a really well-known cult movie.
They Live. And it stood the test of time.
Oh, mate, it's all about like aliens controlling Earth and stuff like that, and through advertising and everything like that. It's brilliant. It really is.
It's not far away from the truth.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It stands the test of time. It's a great commentary on the current world events and stuff like that. It's kind of like RoboCop. See, if you go back and watch RoboCop, you're like, wait a minute, it's still like that to this day.
Aye, we were talking about these mad movies, like you'd have probably watched them, Demolition Man.
Ah, come on.
Remember Demolition Man? And there was like, he came into this, Simon Phoenix, he came into this world where everybody's fucking offended, fat, overweight, wearing women's clothes, and they can't even wipe their arse, and then you're getting a ticket if you say anything wrong. We're like, what kind of fucking world's that? And then look at where we're at now. Exactly,
man. Especially after that hate crime law that's been brought in, man, it's getting more Demolition Man like every day.
I know. And like, what Simon Phoenix reminded me of? Do you remember Cisco in the 90s? See if you had a fucking bonkers brother. Like, imagine like you were pals with Cisco and you'd heard about his big brother who was a fucking nutter.
Yeah, by the way, don't slag him for wearing a thong.
Who?
Cisco, his big brother Simon Phoenix will
Aye,
fuck out
fucking leather you, by the way. You tell him that thong's nice, or Simon Phoenix is going to come down.
My cousin's got a bar in New York, and Wesley Snipes used to go into it regularly, and she said he was a lovely guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he brought Robert De Niro in one day. Apparently Robert De Niro was a complete cock.
Was he?
So he was, aye. Or was it the other way about? One or the other, man. One of them's a dick anyway. It's alright, they'll not see this. We can talk about them.
Well, if they do, then fuck them.
Mate, I'm telling you this now, Wesley Snipes is a legit hard man.
Is he?
Legit hard man, aye. Proper.
It was years and years ago, there was a lassie that I can't remember what exactly she done, but it was something like, if, say for instance, a celebrity or a big movie star was needing anything particular during their visit, she would sort of tend to whatever it is that they needed. So she had all sorts of stuff in terms of like memorabilia, things off movie sets, things of that nature. And like I would get a chat to her about how like you expect it would probably just be normal people. She's a lot of them are brand new, but the ones that were complete arseholes, some of the stuff that they would come out with, like, they can't. What fucking world do they live in where they think that's normal?
Do you know what? I've been lucky in the fact that any time I've been in the company or I've been working with anyone who I've seen as a massive celebrity, they've always been brand new, man. They've always been brand new. I've never really run into any dicks at all. No, not at all. But
are you disappointed with that? Seeing as you like the heels?
I like heels on the telly. I don't like heels in real life, man. But what was
even a wee bit, no, like a wee bit an arsehole just to sort of spice it up a bit.
No, because I don't really suffer fools gladly, to be honest with you, and I'd end up getting cancelled or something like that for it. Do you know what I mean?
That's good. You think if you're getting fucking cancelled, like you're on the right path these days. I mean, it used to be if you were getting cancelled, that was bad. But it's swung that far the other way. It's like, are you even telling the truth now if you don't get cancelled?
I'll tell you this, man. I started watching that the Greatest Roast of All Time on Netflix. Did you see it?
Is that
Tom Brady?
Aye. Oh.
Mate, have you seen any of it?
Aye, seen clips of it. Who was the boy that was at the who was the comedian that had Tom Brady up there and he just went through them all?
Well, that's the thing. That's what it is the whole way through. It's like comedians, and because Tom Brady's a massive, like, he's the greatest ever American football quarterback, they had a lot of American football players as well. And obviously how a roast works is you've got a host, right? The host of this one was Kevin Hart, right? He introduces people coming up and then they roast everybody else on the panel. But what I enjoyed was there was no fucking holds barred on this one, man. I think it's because it's on Netflix. Netflix just doesn't give a fuck anymore. And I love it. I love the fact that they do not give a fuck, because I grew up watching comedy that you would never get away with now. And don't get me wrong, a lot of it is beyond the pale, right? There's certain things like Love Thy Neighbour and all that, which should never see the light of day again, right? Should never ever see the light of day again. But see, when you can't joke anymore, the whole point is it's a joke, right? And folk are saying, well, you can't say that because that hurts somebody's feelings. See, at the end of the day, every joke, there's a but. There's a but to every joke. And if you can't take it as a joke, then it's you that's got the problem. It's no fucking me that's telling the joke.
Remember, it was like growing up. It was like sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you.
Exactly.
The whole thing was like fucking toughen up.
Aye.
It's like, buy yourself a helmet if you think it's fucking hurting your feelings.
Exactly.
Like, life's hard. Like, you're going to need to build a bit of character. And it was character building because you got shamed for fucking everything. You got slagged for anything.
Well, I'll tell you this now, right? There's only one disability on earth that is still fair game for slagging, and it's dwarfism, right? I'll tell you that now, it's dwarfism. It doesn't matter. See if folk make jokes about dwarfs, it's just a joke about a dwarf, right? Doesn't bother me. I'm the first person to make a dwarf joke. Do you know what I mean? And Sammy will tell you, I don't give a fuck about it. It doesn't hurt my feelings or anything like that, right? But see, when you're like, everything else is, you can't approach it. You can't approach anything that anybody thinks is going to hurt anybody's feelings. And see, if you even look back at programmes like the young ones, like Bottom, going back further, Scotch and Rye and stuff like that, you can get away. They could get away with it all because everybody knew how to have a laugh back then. Everybody knew how to have a laugh. what we've done is we've enabled people, we've given everybody a voice through social media. And in my opinion, not everybody should have a voice, because it panders to, we're pandering to everybody. You know what I mean? We're pandering to everybody, and it's not the same as it used to be. And maybe I'm sounding like an old fart here. You know what I mean? Maybe we do need to move on for stuff like that, but there's still a place for all sorts of comedy in my eyes. And getting back to what I was saying originally about the Tom Brady thing, right? They absolutely roast him for being gay. Now, the guy's not gay, right? He was married to Giselle, right? But every other joke is about how Tom Brady's a closeted gay man, right? And by the end of it,
was she pegging him, or is it just that they literally just...
Listen, that doesn't make you gay, man.
Well, I mean, look, it's sus. It's very suspect. Listen, if you got a male phallic object that you'd find pleasure from, it's questionable.
Listen,
because what's the next stage up for that? I mean, you're going to need to go for the real thing.
I don't know about that.
A big veiny purple pulsar is going to be on the menu if that's your sort of that's your niche.
No, it's not that. It's the fact that they're roasting him for it, right? Well, it's called the roast of Tom Green. They're absolutely ripping the piss out of him, right? Everybody, because the story was that he was married to Giselle, right? You know who Giselle is, supermodel, absolutely stunning. She gave him an ultimatum. She's like, you either retire or we're done. And he signed for
She's on her period. She's on, I can tell you right now, she was on her period.
I'll tell you this now. She could be bleeding out every orifice and I would have gave up my job for her. That's all I'm going. But she's saying me, she's gave him this.
Fucking back it up. Back it the fuck up here, right? Let's just so let me get this right. If you knock back Giselle, that in the eyes of the roasting makes you gay, but getting pegged isn't gay.
Listen, see, at the end of the day, if it feels good, do it, man. If it feels good, do it. Each to their own. I don't give a fuck. See, if there's 5 guys out there all getting paid, I'd be like, he's enjoying it, boys. Aye, right,
having a good time.
Man, I don't give a fuck. Let everybody do whatever they want. See if it feels good. As long as nobody's getting hurt, do what you want. It does not bother me in the slightest at all. I don't give a fuck, man.
So you were saying about Giselle? So
Giselle, right, she's gave him the ultimatum where it's you either retire, bear in mind he's played American football for 20 years, right?
That's 20 years by this point, so it's not early on.
Aye, so this is only 2 years ago this happened, right? She's went, you either retire or we're done. And he's went, well, we're done then. You know what I mean? You don't, the guy's the greatest of all time. Now, could you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi's wife going like that? You either retire or you're finished.
Yep.
Now, and like obviously you go to the gym, you do a lot of bodybuilding and stuff like that, right? Who's the top bodybuilder? Well, let's talk about. We'll talk about powerlifters, right? So let's say it's Big Stoltman.
Yeah, Big Tom Stoltman.
Right? Big Tom Stoltman, right? Could you imagine his missus try to give him an ultimatum? You stop doing these powerlifting competitions, or we're done.
That's part of the fucking problem. See this ultimatum pish? You know, you say people shouldn't get a voice. That's where the first problem is. See whoever listened to that shite. Aye. See whoever listened to that shite. That ultimatum pish. Like, I'd get ultimatums. I got 8 years of ultimatums before my wife went, it doesn't matter what I tell you, you're going to do what you want. Anyways, aye.
But you know, I think it's like you meet somebody and you fall in love. They fall in love with the person that you are. Then for the rest of your life, they try to change you.
It's because they're hormonal. They just go. It's them going through shifts.
You're going to get cancelled. You keep talking like that, man. They're no fucking hormonal.
Can fucking bring it on. Bring it on.
Listen, she will knock the fuck out you, man. She will. Yeah, I don't care how big you are.
An absolute pussycat.
But it's like I say, each their own and all that. But getting back to my original point about Tom Brady, I can see the cancel culture now starting to, the tide's turning. Now, Netflix have got a big part to do with it. They done the Ricky Gervais ones. They done who was the other one that was Dave Chappelle.
You know, Cat Williams is the recent one.
Cat Williams done one on Saturday Night Live. We've not seen that yet. We're going to need to watch that.
He's firing some fucking bullets.
Is he?
Oh,
do you know, I've not heard a thing about it.
Oh well, we're getting into the territory of fucking conspiracy theories again. Epstein Island, P Diddy. Are you up to speed with any of that? I can give you the skinny version.
I know all about Epstein Island.
Yeah.
I've not paid much attention to the Diddy thing, to be honest with you. I don't know why. Normally, that sort of thing's the sort of thing that, like, me and all my pals would talk about in the group chat, but nobody's really said anything about the Diddy one. All I know is that he's a onion. And
imagine at the top, right, there's a club. And if you want in the club and you want to go through the door, right, there's some things that you need to do. Right. Epstein Island was all about that. Epstein was a Mossad agent. So the whole thing was honey trap and get dirt on people in power. And that means that they're in your pocket. You can't get them in your pocket, you blackmail them, you discredit them. If they come in, do whatever needs done, but get the dirt on them. That's the same in Hollywood. So these same Rangians play the game in Hollywood. So the game in Hollywood is, if you want, the next blockbuster series, you want to be in this next sort of 4-part movie blockbuster that's going to be great, then you get the deal, but you need to be in the club and you need to take part.
That's what Cat Williams was talking about when he done his face-to-face with the fella, the podcast that he done. He was talking about how it's Illuminati Parties and how such and such had to do this to be part of the establishment. So I'm assuming that it's down that same
thing. The costumes are the same. You can change the party, the costumes the same. It all comes from the same supplier. Like, here's the deal, right? You want what we've got. We control the game, right? If you want what we've got and we've worked for, you need to be as dirty as us. So if you want to be as dirty as us, we know that we've got you. If we got you, then you can have all the it's the old sell your soul to the devil, right? If you're in, right, sell your soul. You can have everything you want, but you need to do this.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Somebody turns around to you and goes like that, right? I tell you what. Let's say, for example, you're an actor, right? And they go like that to you. I'll get you a part in the next installments of the Avengers movies, for talk's sake, the highest grossing movies of all time, right? You will get £20 million per movie, but you need to do A, B, C.
But it depends, because, like, A, you'd probably consider. B, you're like, well, 3 bottles of vodka and I'd think about it, and C and D are never worth thinking about. And they all seem to, I don't know if it's a stage thing, but they seem to work you through the path.
But say there's 7 movies, does the £140 million?
It's the figure that's bandied about is 400 million.
400 million.
400 million.
And that Kevin Hart was supposedly part of that, according to Cat Williams, am I right?
Well, Will Smith was the one who was the top boy. This whole sort of charade that was going on, he was the one that's the cracks have formed because whatever he done and however they rode him, whatever it was that they done to get in the deal, that was apparently the thing. The whole sort of thing is that there's a sort of satanic element to it. You're in the satanic club. It's one of these worst, like, see if you start to look, it's the worst kept secret. Like, it's almost like, what, you didn't know, this is the deal. Like, if you got to the door and they were like, oh, you know what goes on here, don't you? And you're like,
is this a Chuck E. Cheese thing, or is it the pizza place or something like that?
PizzaGate's way down the Dodd. That's like the paedophilia, kind of the paedophilia rings. So the Wayfair scandal and the PizzaGate scandal are things that the FBI investigated and worked out what they were discussing with the symbols, and they actually have the symbols on FBI documents. This isn't like fucking Mad Davies on a 4-day bender and he's took the tinfoil and wrapped it around his head and now thinks he's a space cadet, and it's fucking tuned into the Galactica and came up with some fucking bonkers conspiracy. This was
the Wayfair one. That was honest to God, man. I know that it get investigated and stuff like that, but come on, fuck, man.
It was like, but the when you look at the FBI's investigation into it, like, this is fucking wild.
Aye.
Like, a rocking horse for 11 grand and you need to pick it up at this location. You're like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Thank fuck they deliver in the UK, eh?
Aye. Well, that was all the Pizzagate thing. That was where it led on to. You would go and you could get deliveries.
Aye.
Oh,
holy shit, man.
Aye. But, I mean, these fuckers, I mean, as satanic and as heinous as they are, they're logistically quite clever.
So, tell me this then, right? So you're talking about Satanism and stuff like that. Are you a religious guy yourself?
No.
Aye, because I see you as a guy of science. Right? For what I've watched on your podcast, I see you as a guy of science. I was brought up Catholic in the Catholic Church, right? And kind of the minute I got to an age where I could make my own decisions, I was like, right, fair enough of that. Not because I didn't believe it or anything like that. It was because I didn't want to get up an hour on a Sunday to go to chapel. Right, that's what it was. That's the God's honest truth. It's like, I think it's Kevin Bridges that says I'm a Saturday Catholic. You know what I mean? I support Celtic and that's it. But I've got no interest in religion or anything like that. And looking at it, for being able to distance myself from it and looking at it, it's all nuts, man. It's the cause of every war that's ever happened. You know what I mean? It's going to be the cause of the war that's about to fucking happen now. Yep. You know, and it gives me the fear, mate. It gives me the fear. And see, because I'm no religious, see when I hear stuff like Satanism and satanic rituals and stuff like that, and the people that are supposedly invested in this, like your Trumps, like your Clintons and stuff like that, they shout for the high heavens about how they're Christians and stuff like that, and they're supposedly involved in stuff like this. It's just, everybody's got a different face.
Well, the way I look at it is that I think that there's something, right? But what they tell me that something is, I don't like what they're describing. It's like somebody saying to you, right, Chris, there's your fucking Mr. Perfect figure. Like, you know everything about Mr. Perfect.
Aye.
Right, and they're describing something else, and you're going, that isn't Mr. Perfect. I know what Mr. Perfect is. Aye. Right, what you're describing is not. No, I know.
Oh, but then I know Mr. Perfect that's in front of the camera. I don't know Mr. Perfect that's behind the curtain. You know, so a curtain. My mum always used to say, nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors, right? And it's a way to look at it, because, like I was saying there, some people have got a different face for every person that they speak to, right? I like to think of myself as an honest person. What you see is what you get, and you get me the same way all the time, right? But there's definitely people that are just, like I said, they've got a different personality for every person or every situation that they're in.
We call them politicians. We've got a name for them. They're politicians.
Politicians.
Aye, they're fucking stealing the kids' fucking sweeties underneath the camera whilst holding them up for the cameras.
Stealing the Wayne's milk.
Oh, they're the biggest fucking lying wrongins going.
I remember one of my mates. Remember, they used to say Maggie Thatcher milk snatcher because she stopped. What age are you?
I'm 39.
Right, so I'm 41, right? I'll be 42 in a few
I don't know them. I don't know that
saying.
Maggie Thatcher, the milk snatcher.
Aye, because see, back in the day, in all the nurseries and all the primary schools throughout the UK, the kids used to get free milk in the morning, and she put a stop to it, right? And they started the rhyme Maggie Thatcher milk snatcher. But my mate's mum that voted Tory, right? And he was jumping about shouting Maggie Thatcher bum scratcher. He says he get his arse weathered, right? And over the years, they then opened their eyes to what was going on. And once Ravenscraig and all that get closed down and everything, they seen what was actually going on through the Tory government, and they went on to vote in a different way, right? But I'm the same as you. I think they're all two cheeks in one arse. They're saying one thing out of this side of their mouth, and then they're saying something else out of the other side of their mouth. And I've just got, it's another thing that I've got no time for. I've got no time for religion. I've got no time for politics. And I'm just at a point where I just go, how the fuck can we not just all get on, man? How can we not just all get on? And do you want to know why it is? Because everybody has been given a voice on social media. That's what it is. Social media is the fucking scourge of the earth, mate.
Right, so do you think that it's people, do you think that it would, if social media had no algorithms, or it was just literally, here's the door open, have at it, and it would just be like the cream rises to the top and you can all fucking yap all you like? Or do you think that it's engineered?
Oh, it's definitely engineered, man. I mean, like you say, I think you spoke about it before, and a couple of days ago, Sammy and I were talking about something which I had never looked up on my phone, nothing at all, and the next thing I'm getting adverts for it on my phone. Right, now, getting back to conspiracy theories, if there's anybody that thinks that you're not getting listened to, every fucking minute, every day. See that wee thing in your pocket, man? See, back in the day, before social media, before mobile phones, everybody had their own individual thoughts. And alright, they might have been getting engineered on TV, through advertising, through talk shows, through the news, and stuff like that. But it wasn't to the scale that it is now, man. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
But I tell you an easy analogy, right? An easy analogy about what like religion and politics has become. Right? I don't think religion and politics started like this. I think that it had good roots somewhere along the lines, but it lost its way. Right? And you know what it's like? To me, it looks like wrestling. Like, you're told a story. Now, the story's constructed, and the story's all it's all pre-decided, but there's this whole thing that goes on to get you emotionally bought into it, to pick heroes, to pick you know who the baddie is. It's not because they're bad, it's because that's what they're wanting you to do. They want you to believe there's a baddie, you want you to believe there's a goodie, to get you emotionally involved in this suspense and this whole thrill and this whole build-up. It's the same thing, and it's playing on our emotions.
But the one thing about wrestling that's different for that is wrestling always has a happy ending, eventually. Right? You see with politics and stuff like that, it's not that way. It's not that way. There's very, very rarely a happy ending.
Well, I heard Vince McMahon was big into that recently. He was big into happy end. I'm not sure it's a happy ending most people would like to end on, but it sounded like he thoroughly enjoyed it.
Certainly, I will. Apparently, there was 3 people in the room and 2 of them enjoyed it. That's all you can talk about. Do you know what I mean? But supposedly the stories that have come out.
Do you think that's just fucking bored and loaded, and you're like, right, I've tried everything else, let's give this a shot? Or do you just think, what do you think's went on there?
I think there's a thing. I need to watch what I'm saying here, man. I don't think anybody's ever been under the impression that Vince McMahon was a great person, but if the stories that have been told are true, which the stories that have been alleged are true, then just bury the guy under the fucking prison, man. You know what I mean? WWE as a product has never been better than it has been since he left, which is ironic because he was a man that built it for. He took over his dad's company, but he was the one that started it on a worldwide scale. You know what I mean? He's essentially the godfather of professional wrestling, right? He's the man that started it all, but
he was the guy that was at the front of that wave.
Well, he put every single penny that he had, remortgaged his house twice, took on 2 mortgages, right, to get the money to put on the first WrestleMania. See, if that had have failed, he would have been destitute. But look at it now. You know what I mean? Every year it's over 2 nights now in front of 80,000 people each night. The guy was definitely a visionary, there's no 2 ways about it, but I think there's always, when there's somebody who is such a creative mind, there's always the other side to that mind where there's a bit of madness to it, you know what I mean? And even going into like music and stuff like that, you know, like some of the greatest musicians of all time have been absolute fucking screwballs.
But you can go into, like, you can get books to see how an arsehole works, you don't actually need to see it in person. Like, you can fit, like, there's
but there's no scratch and sniff books, my man. You know what I mean?
I suppose he probably had that he just needed to see the real thing.
Exactly. But it's not a nice story, and like I say, if it turns out to be true, like, give the guy his day in court if it gets to that, because in my opinion everybody is still worth a trial, you know, innocent until proven guilty. And that's another thing that social media has changed. It's trial by social media now. Everybody's guilty until proven innocent, which is, like I said, the tide's kind of starting to turn with that. But give the guy's day in court. If he can prove that it's all a lie, then fair dues. But for what I've seen in the media and stuff like that, it doesn't look good for him, you know. But
a lot of uphill battle there.
That one would be a thinker for a lot of people. That would be a thinker for a lot of people.
You need to be quick off the mark.
Digging uphill, But it's no nice, man. It's no nice. But in in the long run, the upside of it is that wrestling seems to be a lot better now since he's out of the game, which is, it's only good for wrestling fans and wrestlers alike, and specifically female wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's good. It's good to see them coming through, because that's, like, as I said, I was a wrestling fan from I don't know when. I think
like 1992.
Right, 1990. I can tell you. No, the 1993 Survivor Series.
1993
Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, and they went for about an hour. It was Big Boss Man versus Nails.
93 Survivor Series.
1993. Was it 1993?
I remember the whole build up to Boss Man versus Nails. Do you know?
It was big.
Right, my cousin, my auntie used to live in Jackson Court Flats, the ones that are about to get knocked down in Coatbridge, and because only one person in the entire flats had to have Sky, and if you knew what you were doing, you could tune your telly in, right? So we would manage.
This is why Scottish fucking people invent so much, right? This is why they've got the inventor's mindset. It's like, somebody's got a Sky dish. How can we get that signal on our telly?
Exactly. But it was because they would put the Sky dish on the roof of the flats, right? Yep. They would plug it into the TV aerial or whatever they done, and then as long as you knew what you were doing, you could tune it in. However, you had to watch whatever was on the telly at the person that actually had the Sky box.
You're fucking praying that they're a wrestling fan.
You're a wrestling fan, right? And
you're getting wrestling or television X. You're only getting one of the two things at this time of night.
Sometimes it was the same thing. But we would tune in, right? And it was a Saturday morning. It was called WWF Superstars. And I remember the build-up, it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Anytime Big Boss Man was on, there would be this voice would come over the tannoy in the arena. You remember what you'd done to me. The story was that he was a corrupt cop. Nails was an innocent victim who had been jailed, and the Boss Man used to knock the fuck out of him all the time, right? And I remember the Saturday morning when he came through the crowd and he jumped into the ring, and he knocked the living piss out of the Big Boss Man with this nightstick.
It was a nightstick match, wasn't it?
Well, that's the Survivor Series match. It was a nightstick on a pole.
Yep.
Right? So he's knocked the living fuck out of the Big Boss Man, and oh my God, what the hell? Amazing. Boss Man's finally getting a fucking down, because I hated the Big Boss Man.
Do you always hate him?
Because I tell you, because he was a Polish. I hated him. Don't get me wrong. As I look back now, he was amazing, right? But as a kid, I hated him because he was a Polish. I don't know what it was. I just had an aversion to him because he was a Polish. I love the Polish now, but back when I was a kid, no. Right, so he's jumped through the crowd and he's given him a tanking. And the next week, the Boss Man, they're showing photos of the Boss Man. He's laid up in the hospital and he's got a black eye, he's got a broken arm and all that. And then Big Boss Man versus Nails at Survivor Series. I'm like, he's never going to be ready for Survivor Series. And the match was only on. It didn't even last 5 minutes, remember?
It was a bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it?
For the build-up that it had, it was an absolute shambles of a match, but it's one of my earliest memories of wrestling, to be honest with you, is that storyline. But going back to what you were saying there, you were a wrestling fan for 93.
I think it was 93, so I'd have been 93, I'd have been 8.
So how long?
I remember, I can still tell you there was Papa Shango and Coco Beware versus the 1, 2, it was the 1, 2, 3 kid.
No, it'd been Coco Beware and somebody else versus Papa Shango, because Papa Shango was a heel.
Was he?
And Coco Beware was a face.
That'll be it then. And then it was Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, that was the main event. There was a good few matches there.
Shawn Michaels was the Intercontinental Champion. Bret Hart was
I always preferred that. I liked the look of the Intercontinental belt better than the World Championship belt.
They would always call the Intercontinental belt the workers title, because it was always the best wrestler that was the Intercontinental Champion.
But that was the sort of behind the scenes chat. Like it was the guy who deserved it the most.
Aye, it was. If you look at it, man, you had Bret Hart had it for fucking forever. Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. It was all the folk that were right good wrestlers that were the Intercontinental Champion. And then the WWE Champion, you would have Hulk Hogan, Yokozuna. Alright, Macho Man, but he was only champion for a wee while. Ric Flair was the champion for a wee while. Undertaker was the champion. It was always the larger-than-life characters. It would be the actual WWF champion until Bret Hart won it, and then it kind of went for there. Bret Hart, then on to Shawn Michaels, and then
it seemed to be like if you were a WWF champ, you fit the marketing profile.
Correct.
It wasn't really the wrestling profile.
So,
You were marketable. So it was always about how much draw and how much merch you could sell off the back of this, rather than how talented you were. So you could spin a great story and look the part and be the marketing guy and you got the belt, versus like the guys that were really, really gifted at their craft.
well, that's pretty much in all walks of life. Even if you're looking at football and stuff like that, it's a person that can create the most revenue that gets the highest positions. You know what I mean? And if like going back to around about 97, I think it was 97, 98. No, it was King of the Ring 97. I think it was Stone Cold Steve Austin won it. It was maybe 96 or 97. And he gave that interview after it. Jake the Snake Roberts, who had been playing this kind of born again Christian character who was quoting Bible scripts and stuff like that, and he would always talk about John 3:16. And Stone Cold said, "You talk about your Psalms, you talk about your John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass, right?" And the next night on Raw, every sign in the crowd, Austin 3:16. Well, I get that on a t-shirt, right? Put it on a t-shirt.
Because Vince's fucking eyes have turned to dollar signs.
Well, Austin talks about the first time that they came in and he handed them his merch check after they brought out Austin 3:16. And his merch check, I believe, was more than his salary for the year with WWE. It's the fastest selling t-shirt in the history of professional wrestling. And see if it's got that crossover appeal as well. You know what I mean? You see like folk, like bands wearing Austin 3:16 t-shirts. Then the band's fans, like, he's wearing that t-shirt, I want to get that t-shirt. You know what I mean? See if it's got crossover appeal that way. And there's very little in modern day professional wrestling that's got the crossover appeal that I had back then. You remember it became cool to be into professional wrestling. Even as I was a kid at that time, still a teenager at that time, and I had fell away for it. And I'm like, who's this Austin guy that everybody's talking about? And then my mum and dad get cable in, and I'll never forget, it was the very first night I ever drank. Right, the very first night I ever drank.
It's funny how you can remember your childhood, but was it Sky? Was it cable?
Oh, was it cable, mate. Never felt.
Was it cable? Telewest, that was it.
It was,
and it went to NTL.
No, Telewest and NTL was like Celtic and Rangers, right? So you had Telewest.
Oh, was they two different
companies? Telewest and NTL, and then Virgin bought Telewest, and then I think they bought NTL or something like that. So it was Virgin ended up with all of them anyway. But it was the very first night I ever drank. What age were you? I think I was 15 or something like that, I think. And
does drink affect you differently? Like you sound just everything brand new?
I don't drink anymore very often. I drink from time to time, but I know my limits and I don't get wrecked anymore because I'm a fucking disgrace with drinking, me man.
A disgrace?
Oh, horrendous. But
you shit in the bed or what?
Do you know, I kind of immediately get my hackles up. I go on the defensive. Somebody says the wrong thing and I'm wanting to fucking...
right.
I'm wanting to do Hulk Hogan mouse to them, you know what I mean? I've learned...
Is it like a trigger or is it just when you're just...
Do you know, I think it was maybe something to do with what I was drinking. I don't know if it was maybe affecting me in a different way. If I have a drink now, all I have is a few beers and I'm alright.
Right.
See if I start going... Get the shots in and all that.
What shots was it? Sambuca?
Of course.
Aye, standard. That's fucking. I know what you're saying.
That's the only one that I can drink.
I can hear the Looney Tunes starting to fucking crank up in my brain here.
But I used to I went through a wee time where, as everybody has, that like Jack Daniels, right? Jack Daniels was cool to drink, so I would drink that. But then I went, you know what? I'm going to just drink whiskey, and because my granny used to drink whiskey in water, and she would always like sneak me a wee drink. We drink it and I would taste it and I'd be like, that's actually alright, but she had watered it down to the point where it was water with a wee drop whiskey rather than the other way about. But so I decided I'm going to start drinking whiskey and lemonade, and I found that when I was drinking just whiskey and lemonade I was fine. So see, when I went back to drinking Jack Daniels or drinking rum, I like rum. I don't know if it's that or if it's the shots, but it's definitely not the beer, because see, if I just drink beer I'm fine. But if I mix my drinks, I turn into a fucking Tasmanian devil, man.
I know what you mean. I stopped drinking because I was like, remember like Loki, the god of mischief?
Aye.
Right, Loki lives inside me and is waiting for the fucking gate to open. The slightest, the creak of a hinge of, and that's about 3 vodkas.
Aye.
And then it's just all hell will break loose.
So,
do you remember Gremlin, Gizmo?
Aye.
For the Gremlins, and the water hit his back,
Aye.
and then it just, after they went pear-shaped.
All the baddies come in.
And I'd get it, but Chris, it wasn't like, right, if I do this, this happens. And it was like fucking roulette, Russian roulette. You would get like 5 blanks, and then it'd be boom. There was no rhyme or reason to it.
Tell me this, see, are you funny that way? Are you funny drunk? Is it mischief? Or
pure mischief.
So you're not a dick with drinking?
I'm probably a dick.
Aye. I'm a dick with drinking, man. I'm a dick with drinking.
Look, it's funny because I think it's like my wife would say I was a dick, but people who love a dick are like, oh, you're great.
Aye.
So you'd have this confusion where you'd be like, nah, well, I thought it was all right. Your wife would be like, you're a complete arsehole. So I was like, right, okay. And
are you sure we've not got the same missus?
Well, I think we've got the same fucking handbook, right? For Sambuca equals arsehole or something.
I remember one night.
Shove your ultimatum up your arse, right? Equals arsehole.
One night we were out and Sammy wasn't on the drink and I was. And I can't remember, I think she picked me up from Glasgow somewhere, and on the way home I was bursting for a piss, man. Bursting for a piss. And it got to the point where I'm either pissing myself here or you need to pull over. And we pulled over just no far from Celtic Park, man. We were just round the corner from Celtic Park. I've jumped at the motor, man. I didn't even just unzip trousers down to my ankles.
Was it?
Fucking middle of the street, mate. And you see when you think about it, when you wake up the next day, you're like that. I'm a fucking disgrace. And then as I got older, the hangovers lasted longer and longer, and the guilt in the back of your head about things that you think you've done, but you maybe haven't done.
Everybody knows everything you've ever done wrong, right? And DPD's looking for you, and they've just chapped the door, and they represent all authorities everywhere.
That's it. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Even the Doug's looking at you funny the next day.
Fuck! I've got a ring doorbell, man.
You're looking at the Doug, and the Doug knows what you've done.
Aye, what you? Prick. I mean, no, but you're right, and like. It just got to the point where I was like, do you know what? It's not worth it anymore. No. It's not worth it. And when you start to put like your relationship at risk and stuff like that,
that bit's good. That bit's good.
It's
good.
Worth it.
That's worth it. It's the fucking it's the anxiety. It's the anxiety. I can't deal with the grief. Like, and if your missus is clever, she'll play the long game with you. She'll wait until you're fucking like your weakest, and then just run you out like Chinese water torture for about 4 days.
It can be 6 months later. When you're at your weakest and they'll go like that. Remember that time you said that? And you're like, oh no, man, fucking hell.
Well, I say this, my mindset coaching community, I describe this as like, see your weakness as your inner bitch, right? So see every time you've cracked or gave up or fucking quit and you had more in you, right? Or it's all right, son, you've worked hard. It says, and the reason it's an inner bitch is because only feminine energy has that much fucking intel. Times, places you cracked, what you done, what was the words used, every single thing you've ever done, it knows.
By the way, she can't remember what you spoke to her about yesterday, but she remembers a fucking sentence for a chat 6 years ago. Aye. Do you know what I mean?
You said that 5 years, 2 days, 38 minutes ago. I'll update you in the seconds, it's depending how long it is before you admit that you're wrong here.
Aye, but do you know something? There's always more good than bad. The good outweighs the bad, man.
Wait, that's what you tell them as a fucking protest?
I'm not saying that because you sit in the corner.
No, is that what you're saying to us? Listen, then, there's more good in me than bad, right? I know you'll need to put up with this, but come on, give me the benefit of the doubt.
Just give one more chance, just one more chance. That's all. That's all I ask for.
How did you two meet?
This is actually. I don't think I've ever told this story ever. Ever told this story? Right, so
that's obvious. This is going to be good then.
Believe it or not, it was through wrestling to an extent, right? So I had became involved in wrestling. I'll get back to that. In fact, so how I got involved in wrestling was Rob Florence gave me a tap on my shoulder, and the next he's like, we're holding a viewing of They Live. And the reason that he said that to me is because Rowdy Roddy Piper's the main character and They Live.
Oh, fuck, I thought it was the boy for the Back to the Future.
No, it's
what's it? Marty.
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox.
No,
I'd seen the picture and I thought it's Michael J. Fox.
It's Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Oh, there you go.
So I was like, do you know what? I've never seen it. I'll come along. Right? So sat it was in the GFT in the town, the old Glasgow Film Theatre, and I sat, like, there was a row of seats, there's a balcony there, right? And there's a row of seats and all of them said reserved. And I went like that to my mate, all be celebrities that are sitting there, we'll sit right behind them. So we sat right behind them. It was me and my big mate, Kev Gilmore, who went. Kev, he was a big part of me getting in about the wrestling scene as well, right? So we sat there, and sure enough, Greg Hempel, if he's still game, sits in front of me, and during...
So what one's Greg? Is he...
He's Victor, right? So sat behind him, and I was talking during the movie, like, because everybody's seen it, they're hearing and hawing and cheering and all that. It was a great atmosphere in it, and somebody come on the screen, and I went, he looked like Mick Foley, who played Mankind in the wrestling. I went, oh, for fuck's sake, there's Mick Foley, another wrestler on it. And Greg Hempel started pissing himself laughing, and he turned round, and he's like, oh, you're Chris, I've seen you online. I was like, how you doing, mate? Pleased to meet you. And he turned back round again, and I was like, fucking hell.
It's a bit surreal.
How does he know who I am, kind of thing?
But how were you online?
Twitter. Twitter back
right, okay.
Aye, so...
What were you doing on Twitter?
Fucking none, mate. Just pestering celebrities.
Right.
I used to talk about football, I used to talk about wrestling and all that. But
so you're not affiliated to anyone, just chatting about...
just chatting. And so it was the next morning...
So you don't even know Victor's following you?
Well, no, he wasn't following me at the time, man. So I was saying he must have just seen my tweets and stuff, right? So the next morning I woke up and I went onto my notifications and it says Greg Hempel has followed you. I was like, fucking hell. But I played it cool, right? I was like, I'm not going to message him around like that. Just going to leave it as it is. If he follows me, he'll see my tweets and then whatever. And it was Hugman, mate. Right, it was Hugman, and
How long's the gap?
This is 11 years ago.
No, I'm saying, what's the gap between when you've shouted fucking Mankind, right. Mick Foley, and him at Hogmanay?
Well, that was in the summer. It was Hamilton races, so it was summer. The wedding that for the stag do I was at was in July, so about 6 months.
So you've left them hanging out to dry for 6 months, not even a fucking peep.
No, I already followed them anyway, do you know what I mean? I just didn't want to start pestering them because that's the worst. It's the worst. See, when somebody, like, you maybe meet somebody one day and then they'll message you and you message back saying, aye, it was nice to meet you today, mate. And then they keep on messaging you. You never want to be rude, but...
It's not, they're being nice, but it's
a pain in the arse at times, right? So I thought, I don't want to be that guy. So I never messaged them. And then on Hugman, I put out a tweet saying, Happy New Year to all my followers, right? And the next thing, DM, Greg Hempel, Happy New Year, Chris, listen, I'm going to be doing a wrestling show. Sorry, that's not what happened, right? My mate for work, Paul McLaughlin, he messaged me, he's like, listen, I'm not into wrestling, but I've got 2 tickets for a show called The Oran War, and it's all the Scottish wrestlers, but Greg Hempel's got a team and Rob Florence has got a team. I was like, I'd seen them tweeting about it, but I never really gave it any thought. He's like, you want to come? I know you like wrestling. Do you want to come with me? I went, aye, no bother. So I walked in to the wrestling, and the first person that I bumped into was Greg's wife, Jules. She was there with his 2 young boys, right? And I went up and I spoke to her. I was like, listen, and this is the truth. I wasn't bamming her up. I says, listen, my boy fucking loves Balamori. And she was Miss Hooley in Balamori.
Oh, is she?
She's like, oh, thanks very much. I says, would you mind very much doing a video for him? And she went like, no problem at all. So she done a video for him, right? And it was coming up to Christmas. I had messaged Greg. The reason I'd messaged Greg was because he had mentioned that he was going to be taking his boys to WrestleMania, that it was a Christmas present. And he's like, how do you wrap up 2 tickets for WrestleMania and expect them to be excited by that? I says, why don't you do the Disneyland advert? Do you remember the Disneyland advert where they had done the whole thing on the wall and the wee lassie ripped it off the wall and it's we're going to Disneyland and it had all the pictures of fucking Goofy and Mickey Mouse and all that, right? I went, why don't you do that, but do it with wrestlers? We're going to WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And he went like, do you know what, it's a great idea, right? Now, he'd done that, right? My timelines are getting mixed up here because that was definitely before it, because I spoke to Jules about that, right? About
the WrestleMania?
It was me that gave Greg the idea for the WrestleMania thing for Christmas. She's like, that was you? That's amazing. And we got talking and stuff like that. Right now, it was actually further, it must have been a year later, actually, because it was New Year. And I had already spoken to Jules about that, and I hadn't been asked to do the wrestling show, but I was at that wrestling show as a fan. And the next year comes around, and I put out the tweet, Happy New Year to all my followers. And the next day, I get 5 minutes later, I get a DM for Greg saying, Happy New Year, Chris. Listen, we're doing another wrestling show. It's going to be in the Kelvin Hall. It's going to be called Kelvin Brawl. It's going to be the last ever sporting event in the Kelvin Hall. Now, you know how big the Kelvin Hall, right? It was some of the greatest boxing matches ever. Scottish world champions were crowned in the Kelvin Hall. Massive arena as well, right, for a Scottish wrestling show. Held 2,500, right? And he went like, I want you to be my bodyguard on the show. Right? And I'm like, fuck it. Right? So I had started going to the wrestling shows after I had gone to that one.
You start hitting the gym?
Well, I didn't need to. You know, look at this fucking physique.
Well, I'm thinking what you were like before it. I know you're solid now.
Aye.
I know you're fucking hardcore.
I'm solid
for
you
like
started
before it.
Talking about pegging. No, but anyway,
that's not the type of pumping iron I was on about. I mean, I was...
Listen, each to their own, as I've said.
Well, look, if they're having fun.
Exactly.
Said that, as long as they're enjoying themselves.
As long as nobody's getting hurt.
They might want hurt.
As long as nobody's getting hurt that hasn't asked to be hurt.
Well, fair. I'm glad we need clarity these days, because the lines can be blurred sometimes.
Aye, and there's always a safe word, let's be honest.
And it's Vince.
Stop that, you. Right, but, so it gets to New Year, and he sent me that. He says, I want you to be my bodyguard. Now, I had started going to the wrestling shows, ICW exclusively. Never went anywhere else. I went to ICW, and I became pals with Mark Dallas, right? And straight away, I phoned Dallas. I'm like, listen, mate, I says, Greg Hempel's asked me to be part of wrestling, this Kelvin Brawl show. What do you think? He's like, do you want to do it? I was like, I'd love to do it, but I don't know if I could do it. He's like, mate, I've been your pal now for about 6 months. I know your personality. If your personality shines through, then you'll be fine. So
were you thinking that, like, you were going to, like, freeze, or you wouldn't be up to it, or what?
Well, I had never done anything in front of a crowd. Never before. The biggest thing I'd ever done in front of a crowd was fucking karaoke. So it was completely foreign to me.
Aye.
Completely foreign to me.
So you had a bit of doubt about whether you could pull it off?
Well, I felt as if I knew enough about wrestling where I could gauge the crowd and stuff like that. However, I didn't know how the crowd would react to me personally. So it was, and another thing was me coming in out of nowhere while there's people setting up the ring that have been training to be wrestlers for fucking years and years and years. My wrestling debut, right, was in the main event of the biggest show in Scottish wrestling history, right? And I've walked in off the street. So
are you actually wrestling in this event?
No, I was his bodyguard. I was at ringside. I was there to protect him in case shit went down. It was a visual gag because Greg is 6'6".
I think you're going to fucking suplex and Greg here at any point.
Well, I'll get to that.
Choke slamming him off.
I'll get to that. Fucking calm your pants.
I'm hooked here. I'm fucking hooked.
So I've went, do you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. Shy Waynes don't get any sweets. Let's fucking get a go. we'll see what happens.
See, when you were explaining it, I thought you had some loyalty to your it was IWA?
ICW.
ICW, I thought you had loyalty.
I wasn't part of ICW. I'd only gone to the shows as a fan.
Right.
As a punter, and the reason I got friendly with Dallas was because ICW was always all standing. And I'm like, what's the
crowd standing?
What's the point in me going? I'm probably not going to be able to see anything, right? So I messaged Mark Dallas and I went like, listen mate, I says, I'm going to come to one of your shows. Can I meet you before it and can you get me to the front of the crowd? That's what it was, right? And he went like, absolutely no bother. It was in the Classic Grand. It was in the Classic Grand. See where the Four Corners are in Glasgow, right? You see where McDonald's is? The next door down is the Classic Grand, right? So I've went to the show with three of my pals and Dallas has been coming down the stairs as I've been walking in. And he went like, oh, how you doing, mate? He went like, come with me. Took us upstairs, got us right to the front, right? And I was fucking blown away with it, mate. Honestly, I was blown away with it.
With the gesture?
I was blown away with the gesture for a start, right? But the whole night, altogether, I was blown away with it. I never expected it to be the standard that it was.
What were you expecting before you went in?
Because I had grown up with the Carney shows. See, like the tribute shows, fucking the Scottish Undertaker versus the Scottish Kane and the Time Capsule Jim Hall. You know what I mean? Just pure shite. Pure shite. I got in there and it was, every wrestler was their own character. There was no rip-offs. There was none of that. And it was like a hark back to the ECW days where it was just grungy, man. It was dirty. You know what I mean? It was in a nightclub, a fucking horrible nightclub at that. You know what I mean? And I went, right, I need to get tickets for the next one. Then after that, I need to get tickets for the next one. And there was a group that would go all together, right? And it was fucking magic, right?
What age are you at this point?
This is, what I say is 10 years ago, so I'm over 30.
Aye.
You know what I mean? But
see, but it's interesting, like you listen to when you were like when you first got into wrestling, you came away from it, you went back in, and I'm like, it seems like there's a bit of an ebb and flow into this.
There is, definitely, but I've always said like wrestling's cyclical, so it goes round in cycles where it's brilliant, and then it goes to shite, and then it goes to brilliant again.
Is the industry as a whole, or do you mean like
industry as a whole?
What would you describe like is it factions? Is it like what would you call like the company or the outfit or
the different companies?
Aye, like it is.
Promotions.
Is it all the promotions go through that cycle at the same point, or is it a case of like each promotion has their time? If you like,
I think it's because of the generational thing, where you'll get maybe 5 or 6 years where it's really good and really hot, and then all the people that have been going to watch it kind of grow out of it, if you know what I mean, and then they need to adapt to how to get people back in. You know, it's like, I don't know, it's theatre, mate, it's just theatre, it's theatre for folk that don't like actual theatre. Do you know what I mean?
But you must have something. You must be able to detect that, because you're like the way that you're picking stuff up. You're picking up stuff that they're subliminally creating a story and an atmosphere and an energy and sort of casting this magic, and you can see what's going on. You're picking that up when most people are just blindly going, hey, they're part of it, but they don't know what's going on. You're sort of seeing the threads of what's happening. Because when you were saying there you were reading the crowds, I was like, that's interesting that you're able to pick that up.
Oh, it's definitely something, because there's ICW in itself is going through a kind of rebirth just now, right? Mark Dallas, who was the founder and the owner of the company, has taken a step away. He still owns the company, but he doesn't take anything to do with running it. He doesn't take anything to do with the storylines or anything like that. He takes nothing to do with it. He still just owns the company though. He stepped away to do other things, right? But WWE, a few years back, WWE signed a deal with ICW where they would pay ICW X amount of money each year to be able to show ICW programming on the WWE network, right? So the downfall for that was they then had access to all the programming, everything that ICW done So they're watching that and they're going, he's good, get him in. You know what I mean?
They're poaching.
And they stole all the best talent in the country. All of them. There's now 7 or 8 Scottish wrestlers in WWE, right? The only Scottish wrestler we had growing up was Rowdy Roddy Piper, and he was fucking Canadian. Do you know what I mean? But they took all the best wrestlers, right? All of them. These people that Dallas and other promoters throughout Scotland had built up, right? The whole point of them building them up is so that they can move on, so that they can then earn a full-time living as professional wrestlers. And Dallas told that to everybody backstage once he goes like that. The whole point in me having you here is to give you a platform for you to then go on and take your career on to the next level. Mm-hmm. But they all went at once. And then you're left with young up-and-coming talent who they're not established to the same level that these other ones are, right? And
the gap's too big between the big boys and the guys cutting their teeth. There's a void there.
There is a void. Another thing that had a major impact on it was COVID, which we used to, like, for example, at our height, we done the hydro. You know what I mean? We done the hydro with ICW, a Glasgow-based company, done the hydro 3 years in a row. We done it, right? Now, see, when I first get into it, that's a fucking pipe dream, man. It's an absolute pipe dream.
So you get like, for people who would understand how big a leap that is, like what sort of, are they filling out a fucking phone box at the start? Well, could they have held the event in your bedroom?
The first show I went to was at the Classic Grand, which I think held about 200 people. At our height, we done over 7,500 at the Hydro.
Wow.
Right. We also, on that show, we had Kurt Angle, we had the Dudley Boys, we had Rey Mysterio, we had RVD.
Some big hitters in.
We had Finn Balor, who is, at the point he was Fergal Devitt. He's a massive star in America now. We had Drew Galloway, whose career started with ICW. He's Drew McIntyre in WWE now. And all of these people would have crawled over 7 mile of broken glass to work for ICW because of the reputation that we had fucking created for ourselves. Now, looking back, it's incredible to think what we achieved, man. Incredible to think of what we achieved, but WWE came, stole all the best wrestlers. COVID came, stopped us from having crowds.
Perfect storm.
It was just, like you say, a perfect storm, and now they're in a position, ICW is in a position now where they're rebuilding. There's a lot of good talent now, there's no doubt about it, but the crowds haven't seemed to be coming back, and it's, don't get me wrong, they used to do weekly programming for WWE and 4 or 5 big shows, you know, they would do them at the garage or elsewhere, and they would pack out the garage, right? It's
significantly moving up in the class of nightclubs here. I mean, we've left the sticky carpet to the garage. It's that's a significant jump.
China White at some point.
Don't want to go too big too soon, you know what I mean?
But no, so August, right? So I've phoned Dallas and I've said, should I do this show? He's like, mate, in for a penny, in for a pound, fucking get a bash, why not? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I done it, and like I said, I was very trepidatious because I was coming in off the street. I was Dallas's pal. You know what I mean? This wee guy that Dallas has found on the street kind of thing. He's brought in, and he said to me, do it. And he went like that to me. Before it, he says, if you do well tonight, there's a spot on ICW for you. And I was
no
like,
pressure.
Or it's like having a kick about with a couple of Celtic players and Brendan Rodgers coming over and going like, if you score 2 goals in this game, there's a spot on the Celtic team for you. You know, that's what it's like to me as a wrestling fan. So I went, right, okay. So the main events have come out. First thing I've got to do is sing the Canadian national anthem, because Greg's playing up his Canadian side, right? I don't know if you know, but Greg's actually Canadian. He's not Scottish.
I didn't know that.
So we're in the middle of the ring, and I'm wearing the top hat, so I've took the top hat off and it's over my heart and we're giving it, oh, Canada, right?
Did you have to learn the words?
Mate, I knew the words, man.
Yeah, just in the bag for the karaoke days.
I'm a fucking pro, brother. Oh, yeah, I do the karaoke days.
So I fucking scooshed this. I've been in front of the crowds.
Been in front of the crowd singing this before? Aye. No, right, so...
Who the fuck is Moose? You're my national fucking animal, my friend. I'll fucking moose you.
Listen, yours is a unicorn, you prick. Right, so we've went out, the match has started. The match is Red Lightning and Greg Hemphill versus Grado and Rob Florence, right? And during the a complete ring of talent there, if you don't mind me saying. And don't get me wrong, also beside me is Gavin Mitchell, who plays Bobby the Barman in Still Game.
Right, so no shit's going down. We used to and watch.
Exactly, you know, the two hardest guys in fucking Scottish television, bro.
Solid. But you're not fucking pegging on our watch. Like he's no.
Unless you ask nicely.
Unless Vince is coming in with a big checkbook.
He's already used that checkbook.
There's some residue and smoke coming off it for the last time.
Exactly, skid mark. So we've got in it, and before it they've been like that to me, right, there's going to be a point where Rab's going to pin Greg. You've got to come in and break up the pin. Rab's bodyguard, he's known as Coach Tripp now, at the time he was called Adam Shame, right? He's going to come in, give you one, and then you're going to get carried to the back. I'm like that, right, no bother. So I'm thinking to myself, fuck, I've never even done a minute's training. What the fuck am I going to do here? How am I going to take this bump, right? So I spoke to Shamer before it. I'm like, Shamer, man, you're going to need to fucking guide me through this. He went like, right, rather than punching you, what I'll do is I'll drop to my knees and I'll stick your head on you. When I header you, I'll header you there. You'll no feel it. Just go down natural. I was like, right, okay, no bother. So Rab goes to pin Greg. I run in, break up the pin, pick Rab up with the fucking collar and waistband, and he jumps up, and I'm giving it all this to him in the middle of the ring. Unbeknownst to me, his bodyguard's behind me. Mm-hmm. So I turn around, he walks me into the corner, and I'm giving it that one. And he drops to his knees. Does he not fucking put the head right on me? Right? So I've went down naturally because he's put the head
he's
right
full on
headed
you.
He didn't mean it. It was an accident. Well, he says it's an accident.
He's took his opportunity. It was there.
So he's picked me up and carried me to the back. Right, so he sits me down. He goes, "Was that all right, wee man?" I was like, "I know bad." He went like, "Where's the blood coming from?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" Fucking split my eyebrow wide open, man. And I was like,
he's not known that he's.
Well, he wouldn't have done it deliberately. I know the guy. I know the guy. He's a fucking absolute gentleman. There's no way he would have done it.
What I'm saying is, he's not known that he's cracked you properly.
That point, right? So
I don't mean he's like fucking thought, right, like I'm just going to fucking header Chris.
No, definitely no. So I've get backstage, and I think because I never made a big song and dance about it or anything like that, and I took it the way that I should have taken it.
Aye.
I think that kind of built bridges with a lot of folk, you know what I mean? They're like, right, he's willing to do that.
That's the whole thing, like you know, brothers and the people like that are in the military and that sort of stuff get a brotherhood because they spilt blood together.
Well, that's it.
That's the whole thing. Like you're like, now you've earned your stripes. Mm-hmm. Like you've come in, like we know that you're one of the boys rather than sort of this prima donna that just shows up and sort of.
Well, listen, see, at the end of the day, I wasn't there for the money. You know what I mean? It was. If I was there for the money, I wouldn't have been there long, put it that way, right? But what's happened is after that night, Dallas come up to me and he went like that, fucking brilliant, mate, brilliant. He went like that, come and speak to me during the week and we'll organise getting you involved in ICW, right? So, went and spoke to him during the week. He went like that, I want you involved in this storyline. We're going to be bringing over Colt Cabana and Paul London and Brian Kendrick and Sabu. You know Sabu for ECW, right? Fucking lunatic, mate. A lunatic, right?
But as a character in real life?
Oh, both.
Right.
Absolute madman.
What's his story?
So, oh, mate. I'm not even getting into it. You need to look it up yourself. The guy's a fucking crackpot, man.
It's good to be going something fucking dodgier than Vince.
Great guy, right?
Was he the flat earther?
No, that was Moose.
Oh, he's not that hardwired, right? I've got it was Moose.
Right, so I've went and met Dallas, and he's went like that. Right, listen, there's no spot right now, but I've got this idea for a storyline. We're going to be bringing in such and such and such, but I want you to be my conscience. Nobody else can see you except me. Right? I'm like that. Right, okay. I'm like, how the fuck is that going to work, kind of thing?
How the fuck does that work?
Right, so this is the thing, right? So I've went for 2,500 at the Kelvin Hall, right? The first ICW show that I'd done was the biggest show that they'd ever ran, and it was in the Picture House in Edinburgh, right? That's now a Witherspoon's, unfortunately. But this place was fucking massive. I don't know how many people were there, but it was fucking huge, right? It was huge, this place.
And do you feel that, like, see, when you're in a bigger venue, does that up the ante?
Well, see, when we done the SECC, right? Not the Hydro, the SECC, first of all. And that, to this day, that's my favourite one that we've ever done. And we went out and I done a promo at the start of the show with Dallas in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the SEC, sold out, by the way, right? I think it was 5,000 maybe, right? And I couldn't see the back of the hall. I felt as if I was standing in a sea of people, mate. I could not see the back of the hall, which fucking terrified me at that point. I'm like, how many people are actually here? You know what I mean? It was wild.
What's that feel like?
There's nothing like, see, being in front of a rabid wrestling crowd, there's nothing like it, man. Nothing like it at all. It's like you're living vicariously through yourself. You're there, but you can see it as if outside your body kind of thing. I know that sounds daft, right? But it's as if you can see it. You can see yourself in the ring doing this, but you're actually doing it. It's fucking nuts, man. But it's some feeling. There's no feeling like it, man. Honestly, in front of a proper rabid crowd, it's incredible, man. It really is incredible.
But it sounds like you didn't have you sort of got caught up in a whirlwind without like the normal route or path of training and getting used to it and the building up to it, and sort of you've been literally thrown into the deep end to talking in front of like a huge sellout crowd. It
was sink or swim. The very first promo that I ever done, right? Dallas, that's what I'm talking about here. It was in I never done a promo at the Picture House. I done a promo at the ABC, right? So he's gave me a microphone and he's announcing, he's like, we're going to have this massive show and blah blah, and I'll see you all there. And what I've got to do is coax him into telling them everything who's all going to be there at that show.
You're he's conscious at this point.
So he goes to walk out the ring and I grab him and I go, wait a minute here. Says, we spoke about this last night. Tell these people the whole fucking story. Right now, that's what I said. Yep. Tell these people the whole fucking story. Right? Mate, see that line? It was like my version of Austin 316.
But they've just, that's captivated by it.
The crowd just started, whole fucking story. And then it just went on for there. Every time I was on the mic and all of that, whole fucking story. And it was,
what's this like? Right, you imagine what it's like, right? You're this fucking young boy, found these wrestling figures, your pals saying that you've no watched a fucking wrestling video that you've watched, right? And you're just captivated with what's going on. The cartoons are put to the side. This thing has fucking got you hook, line and sinker. And then jump into your now getting this Austin 316 moment.
That's what it was like. It genuinely was like my own Austin 316.
Must have felt surreal. Like, did you think that at the time, or were you just totally caught up in the moment?
Well, to be honest with you, back then ICW wasn't quite as professional as it is now. So I had a few Chardonnays before I went into the ring, you know, and it gave me a wee bit of Dutch courage. So it certainly helped, but like I said there, it kind of, when the crowd started saying it, I always felt as if it was a wee bit of them going, well, he's one of us. Because I had been in the crowd. I knew a lot of them that were there. You know what I mean? But I felt that at that point that was me being accepted.
Is that good? Is that what you want?
I wanted to be accepted as part of the roster, but I never wanted to lose the connection of me being one of them. You know what I mean? One of the crowd, being on the other side of the fence. It's something that's never left me. It's I've always had an affinity with the crowd. They've always loved me, and I've always loved them. I've never had a crossword said to me for the crowd. Nobody's ever booed me when they're supposed to be cheering me or anything like that. I've always been, for want of a better phrase, I've always been over with them, and I don't know if that's more of a testament to me or if it's more of a testament to the company and how they presented me, kind of thing, you know what I mean? But it's brilliant, man. It's still to this day. I love the ICW crowd. I always fucking will, man. They're a different breed.
But how's that as coming through as a fan? Because you've started as a fan. It's not like you fell into this as a profession or grand sort of ideas of I'm going to be the world champ, or the typical sort of reasons and motivations that a wrestler would get into something like this.
I think I'm pretty lucky because I think everybody that's standing in that crowd thinks I'd love to be part of that. You know what I mean? And I'm just the lucky one that got the chance to be part of it. And it's something that I'm always going to be proud of, mate, because it's a major. In fact, it's probably the catalyst for where I am now in my career. Well,
your luck didn't stop there, because this started for how did you end up meeting your missus? Right. So this is where the real fucking luck kicks in.
So obviously I've got my Twitter, and this lassie followed me on Twitter, right? Now her name was Pamela, and we used to chat back and forward. She was a wrestling fan, so like if ever there was any wrestling chat, she would always pop up and we would talk back and forward to each other. And then her pal followed me. This lassie, I think it was, what was her Twitter handle at the time? Can't remember. Ginger Specky Bird or something like that it was at the time. Mad Specky Bird.
The feminine energies just entered the chat. Remember I was telling you?
That's it. Keep it right.
Detailed fucking files.
Told you, try to change.
The detailed files have entered the chat.
Try to change what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
What was it, Mad
Specky Bird.
Mad Specky Bird.
So, that's it. Now, it's Valentine's Day, right? And I'm fairly newly single. No, I must have been about a year or something like I was single. And I tweeted the two of them jokingly saying, "Hey, it's Valentine's Day. Any chance I can pump you too?" Right? And I knew Pamela had a boyfriend. I was kidding on, but fucking the Bulging slides into my DMs, didn't she? And we went out on a date, and we had a great laugh. And then we went out on another date. And then we went out on another date. And then after that, I just couldn't get fucking ready on it.
Couldn't get shot at?
No. It's brutal. I've tried my best. I just can't get shot.
How long has been together?
We've been together over 10 years.
Oh, you're fucked now. No, you can't even, you couldn't.
I've been with her nearly as long as I was in wrestling. Aye. So that's how it started, and long may it continue.
How many times over the last 10 years have you reminded that you're still waiting on that fucking threesome?
Who says we've no?
Well, I'm speculating. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt there.
Aye, listen, don't make snap judgments.
That's good. I'm just checking. Just want to make sure I knew who was.
Let me just put that out there in case Sammy's mum and dad watching. We certainly have not done that. Certainly not. No, but she reminds me every once in a while that I've still not done that threesome that she wants.
Good like that. We'll edit that in. We'll smooth that one out. Is that when you fucked up? She's like, aye.
What do you mean?
When you're in the bad books.
Oh, when I'm in the bad books. Right. Do you know what? You see, if I'm ever in the bad books, I'm in the bad books for about 5 minutes, man. We never really argue.
She just can't be fucked on to that for that long.
You know what she's like, man? She's bubbly as fuck. Don't get me wrong. There's the odd occasion where she'll have a mad turn, but it lasts about 5 minutes and that's it. You know, you just go on with it. And
we're definitely married to the same woman. I can't. I don't even think I'm in the good books for 5 minutes.
Oh Christ! Many men's have you got? Is it three? Three.
I've got three.
3 kids.
Aye, 3 boys.
Heel gripsy boy.
Oh, dear, that's you. You're fucking done.
Is it 2 boys and a girl?
3 boys.
3 boys.
That's how far down the food chain I am. There's 3 boys and 2 dogs above me.
You're that much of a man that you've made 3 penises. That's incredible.
I'd not looked at it that way. That's quite good. That is quite good.
I've only made 1.
Good for you, man. That's good. It's good getting your first one under your belt.
I don't want it anymore, man. Don't want it anymore. My boy actually used to come in here, so he did the training.
Oh, did he?
Aye, he was part of the training. Which the Rivals? Gym. Aye, he was part of the Rivals gym. Aye, he was one of the coaches.
Did you enjoy it?
He lucked out and all. Never done a day's kickboxing in his life. Walks into a kickboxing coaching job. Fuck me, man. Must run in the family, no?
Where he's keeping this fucking horseshoe, by the way?
Right up my farter.
Aye, because that's why
next to that phallic king that you were talking about.
That's the fucking peggings make sure that's getting pushed right in.
That makes sure that the peg doesn't go too far. Is that
the guard, is it? Right, is that the cut-off line?
It's like a male coil.
So don't you fucking push your luck, that's where it comes from.
Exactly. Some say it's lucky to be shot on.
Well, I don't know if Vince has ever had wings, but I mean, we can't rule that out at this point.
Brilliant, man, brilliant. But getting back to what I was saying, so we ended up doing the hydro, and then we done a documentary, man. We done a documentary for the BBC called Insane Fight Club, and
that's a bit of a fucking leap, is it not? So right, you're currently somebody's conscience in a storyline. How does it come to pass that you go for being,
that was in place. That was already in place when I joined ICW. They'd started filming it.
Right.
And my first show, the whole BBC crew was there. And you know what I mean? That's daunting as fuck. Like, when I done the BBC show, it was through... Right, whatever it was like the whole BBC crew was there filming, and they went like, "Do you mind if we interview you for it, because it's your debut and whatever?" And I says, "I know, boss." So they interviewed me for it and stuff like that, and then when the documentary came out, they had cut my bit out, so I was fucking gutted. So fuck. So
did you feel like you just not made the cut?
Aye, but I'm a big believer in that everything happens for a reason, right? I'm a big believer in that. So that documentary comes out and it's massive, man. Like proper massive, big time. And straight away they're back on. They're like, "We want to do a sequel." Like, right, no bother. But we want you to go on tour throughout the UK for the sequel. Right, okay, no problem. And they've started filming it, and the guy who was directing it this time said, "Let's get Chris Toal involved." So I got a phone call.
Is he a wrestling fan? Like, he's been following what's going on?
I'm not sure. I know that he is now. I'm not sure if he was at the time, but he wasn't the original director of the first one. But he's obviously up to date on the first one. So what he's seen there is great. But he's obviously done his homework, and since then I've become a bigger part of ICW, and he's seen promos and stuff like that I've done, and he's thought, you know what, he's an interesting character. I think they tried to get like a kind of motley crew, you know what I mean? Like, it was myself, Dallas, Jack Jester, Grado, and Big Drew. Was Big Drew in the second one? No, it was was he? Right, aye. Big Drew was in it as well, who's now been world champion in WWE and stuff like that, right? So I get a phone call, and they're like, "Can you get off your work for a few days?" I says, "I can certainly ask. Why?" Says, "We need you down in Leeds tomorrow morning. We want you to be one of the featured characters in Insane Fight Club 2. And I loved the first documentary. As much as my bit had been cut out, it was incredible for the company as a whole. So I was like, right. And Insane Fight Club 1 was what launched Grado into what he is now. So he got all the acting work and all that off the back of it. So I went, you know what, aye, fuck it, we'll give it a go. Went down. It was brilliant, man. If you've never seen it, they're both on YouTube. You should watch them.
I'll check them out.
They're very good. And I went down.
What did your work say? Like, as far as I need fucking a day off tomorrow for the next couple of days, and I'm going to go and do this. That's that's a belter.
My work's always been brilliant that way.
You still working in the same place?
I'm not allowed to say who I work for, but I've been
CIA.
I've been working for them 18 years past last week, actually.
That's
18
good.
years I've been with them. They've always been brilliant with that. I could tell you a story about, I'll tell you another story in a minute, right? But this was part of, when I went down there, I kind of got the feeling of being on the road with the wrestling and stuff. We done shows, we went out drinking with Jimmy Corkill and the cast of Geordie Shore. And it was just wild. Like I say, if you watch it, it's nuts.
This is in the documentary?
This is in the documentary, right. Man, right? So, Dean Sullivan, I should say, who played Jimmy Corkill on Brookside. He died last year, sadly, but, so, you know, have you ever seen the Jersey Shore or anything like that?
No, I've never.
Right,
I know the idea behind it. I've never seen it.
So, party animals kind of thing.
Yep.
We went out with them. They couldn't keep up with us. They genuinely couldn't keep up with us. We fucking drank them all under the table, right? To the point where they left, and I heard one of them at the bar saying, "Can you fill 3 of the shot glasses with water?" So they were taking shots of water while we were tanking sambucas. Bunch of big
part-timers.
Aye, exactly, part-timers. Everything's for show. So we done that documentary, and when it aired, now, you know how big football is in the UK. You know how big it is. It's massive. It aired against the Champions League on ITV when it used to be live on terrestrial television, and we get more viewers than the Champions League. Now,
that's crazy.
See, for a small company, it was a start-up in Maryhill in Glasgow, mate. You know what I mean? See, to be part of that whole movement, it was incredible. It really was, man. It was fucking tremendous. So after that, genuinely the day after it aired, I got a phone call, and I was in my work and I got a phone call, and it's like 0131 or 0121 or whatever it is, London. I was like, oh, what the fuck's this? Answers the phone, and it was Judge Rinder. You know who Judge Rinder is? Judge Rinder on the phone.
You signed a contract somewhere that's...
Oh, I'm like that. He says to me, Chris, do you think that you could get yourself and Mark on the show? I'm saying it's Judge Rinder as if it's actually him that's talking to me. It's one of his producers that's talking to me, right? We'd like to bring you and Mark on the show. We will... has he ever not paid you for a show or anything like that? He's like, if he's come on, we can guarantee he's about £7,000. I was like, $7,000? That was a fucking lot of money to me, right? I was like, $7,000. So I says, let me phone you back. So I phoned Dallas. I went like, Dallas, mate, listen, I says, fucking ITV's on the phone, Judge Grinder. He says, you'll give you $7,000 if we go on and pretend that you don't fucking pay me for the show. He goes like, I could really do with that sort of money, but the amount of reputational damage that would do to me, it would finish us. And I went like, do you know what? You're right. And I could see the bigger picture, man. I could see where ICW was going to. And I knew... Was
there any motive for ITV? Were they just looking... Was it just a happenstance that they were looking for sort of like a story and thought there would be no harm, no foul?
Well, I think, looking back on it, and it makes me wonder if... another thing, like what you're getting fed through TV, it's just fucking lies, like you said. You know what I mean? It makes you wonder, is anything that you see on there for real? You know, like... It's plus I never liked the fucking guy to begin with, the Judge Rinder guy. So I didn't really want to go on there and for him to fucking shout and ball at my mate, who I'm pretending isn't my mate anymore. You know what I mean? I might be a decent actor, but I'm not a good enough actor to let that go on in front of me. So Dallas has said that, and I've been like, do you know what, you're right, mate. And like I says, I could see the bigger picture. I knew where ICW was going. I had the feeling that this was going to be massive. Right, and I thought, right, fuck it, play the long game. you know, you'll make that money back 10 times over. So we never went on it, and then a few weeks later, I got a phone call from Comedy Unit, who were like, we've seen you on ICW, we've seen you on Insane Fight Club, we want you to come in and audition for Scott Squad. And I was like, okay. Again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'd never done an audition in my life. So I'm friendly with Darren Connell, who was on Scott Squad, and I messaged him. I was like, listen, Dan, I says, I've got an audition for Scott Squad. Help me out here. What should I do? He went, what are they asking you to do? He says, I've to go in with a character, my own character, and see how I got on, but I've got to do the audition in character. And he went like, just do it like you would do wrestling. Dial yourself up to 11. Go in there and be yourself and see what happens. And on my audition, I sat down and I introduced myself. I went, alright, Shagger, to the director, right, and the writer, Joe Hewlett. And when I said, alright, Shagger, Joe Hewlett started pissing himself laughing. And we done the audition, and pretty much the audition that we done was what was filmed for my scene in Scott Squad, which went mad viral. Man, it was like, I still can't walk down the street now without somebody shouting Shagger, am I right? It's crazy. But after that, we moved on from there, and I got I got some more acting work, wee bit parts here and there, and then I got a phone call from Grado one night, and he asked me to be on a podcast. So that was Football Daft. That then grew arms and legs, and we've now got a podcast called A Pint and Two Shots, and this Saturday night we're doing a live show at the Pavilion with the podcast. So it's just from...
What space is this over? Like, what time?
It's that whole story there's over the space of 10 years. But
that's a whirlwind. Like, so you're still with your work. You get these out of the blue phone calls and just chance encounters, right place at the right time. Like, you fancy doing this? Drop everything. You're going down. You're, by your own words, you're like, look, I've never done any training for this my entire life. One thing leads to another, and it's just literally rolling into the next one constantly. What were you thinking when this is going on?
Just fucking go with it, man. Just go with it. There's no time for sentiment, you know.
But there must be a bit of you that's like, I am fucking blagging every bit of this.
I don't ever suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't ever suffer from it. But there's been a few times when I've been like that. Somebody else should be doing this rather than me. Like, see,
and was Vince there?
That's how I lost my hair. But it's been a long road, man. But it's been fun every step of the way, and I wouldn't change a minute yet, man. But
like, see when you're saying that you don't have, imposter syndrome, what you must have is self-belief. Like you must have a degree of self-belief that's beaten that, any doubt, any uncertainty. Where do you think that comes from?
My mum.
Your mum?
No doubt about it, man.
Well, you didn't even need to think about that?
No.
So how did you get that for your mum?
My mum never let me think of myself as any different from anybody else. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm very different for a lot of people.
You're solid for one. Mind you said that.
I know.
Hardcore.
So I'm always solid, man.
Good.
That's because she keeps slipping the blue pills into my drinks. But,
well, they're working.
She'll testify. No, it's definitely for my mum, man. For I was a kid, she never let me give up on anything. She always, if I wanted to try something, she would support me 100%. Same as my dad, you know, like they were always behind me 100%. If they always said, if you believe you can do something, give it a go. If it's not for you, nothing ventured, nothing gained. At least you tried. A great quote is always, you know, things that you regret on your deathbed are the things that you never done. You never regret the things that you did do. You know, so it's they drilled that into me. I couldn't have asked for two better parents, to be honest with you, mate. You know, they supported me the whole way.
And do you think that like that was their nature, or do you think that was because they were like, right, we need to put special emphasis that he can go for anything that he wants?
Well, it was a lot. It was when I was a kid. They were like that, right? He needs to go into a special school, and my mum's like, wait a fucking minute.
Who's saying this?
Like, basically the schooling
The
system. My mum fought tooth and nail. She's like, no, he doesn't, because he's in no way like he's not mentally disabled. He doesn't have any learning difficulties or anything like that. He's all there, and if you put him into that schooling system, he's not going to get the education that he should get. So from there, you know, being in mainstream school, which at that point there wasn't a lot of disabled people went to mainstream school. You know, looking at my time in school, there was no other disabled kids. Is
dwarfism classed as a disabled?
It's more than just dwarfism. I've got all sorts of skeletal disorders and stuff like that as well.
What age would you have been when your mum and dad have found this out? Like, what age is that?
When they found out, it started off with they knew that I had dwarfism, right? But it was scoliosis.
Like right off the bat.
Aye, right off the bat. So they knew that I had dwarfism right off the bat. So my mum's like, she was bathing me one night and she's like, his gait's completely fucked. You know what I mean? Like,
you've got a twist.
There's something not right here.
Yep.
So she took me to a doctor, and the doctors basically tell her that she was being an overprotective parent, right? And this is where I get it for. She fought tooth and nail. To make sure that they seen what she seen. So eventually they gave me X-rays and stuff like that, and there was a curvature in my spine. And they said that will fix itself over time. Now, I got to the age of 5, and I had started to struggle with my breathing, right? And Mum says, right, fuck this, let's get this sorted. So she took me through to Edinburgh. It was a hospital, it's not there anymore, it was called the Princess Margaret Rose Hospital in Edinburgh. And they done all the tests and all of that, and they went like, the reason he's breathing's struggling is because his spine's pressing on his lungs. And basically, he's not going to see his 12th birthday. And this is when I was 5. They gave me 7 years.
What a bombshell that must have been for your mum.
So, exactly. You know, it's so... I can only imagine as a parent now, you're a parent yourself, can you imagine getting that news? Enjoy your win while you've got them. You've got 7, at the most...
They're putting the meter on, right?
At the most, 7 years.
7 years.
Exactly, so... I was like, well, not me.
Have you spoke to your mum?
My mum's passed away now. She's not here, and both my mum and dad have passed away now.
See, before she passed, did she discuss what it was like?
Oh, mate, it's like all my aunts and uncles as well. They've all told me all the stories.
So I take it they're quite close in you.
Mate, see, my family back when I was a kid, it was like that.
Right.
Like my extended family as well. It was just we all lived in each other's pockets. It was great, man. It was a great upbringing that I had. It really was. But when my mum was told that, the surgeon, Mr. McMaster, his name was.
This is the guy from Edinburgh.
Yeah,
right.
He's like, there's essentially like an experimental. There's an experimental surgery that we can do. It was from America at the time, and it hadn't really been done here at the time, and it was a spinal fusion, but it was using ribs, right? So I got 2 ribs taken out and fused to the top of my neck. The reason that they said I wouldn't make my 12th birthday was because the vertebrae at the top of my neck was thinner than the rest of my vertebrae, and it was going to be susceptible to snapping. So it was going to happen at one point or another. Yeah. So they took 2 ribs out and they fused them to either side of my neck to build up the vertebrae at the top of my neck. And it was a 14-hour operation. There was no guarantees that I was going to be able to walk when I come out yet, and it was just a hellish time for my parents and for my other family as well. But
what age were you?
5, man. I was 5 at the time.
Like, imagine what that'd have been like for them. Like, here's the deal, right? He's got 7 years on the clock. We're going to do this experimental surgery. Might not work.
Exactly. I know, man. I know. Like I say,
Imagine facing that.
Thinking as a parent now, like my boy's been through a few surgeries. That just he's just recently had a spinal fusion. My boy, but now it is night and day compared to what it was back then. Now you think we're talking 35 years ago, 36 years ago. The advances in medical science is saying, you know, it's night and day, like I said. But back then, so they've done that. They've done the fusion. I never woke up for 3 days. Right, I went in for the surgery on the Thursday, and I woke up on the Sunday. Right, and
why was that?
Because I don't know if they over anaesthetised me, or whatever. But I maybe just needed a right good fucking sleep, to be honest with you.
Maybe you're playing your old tactics that you did with. I be like, fucking, let's just string them out a bit.
See if I keep my eyes shut, I might get an extra couple of He-Man figures out of this.
I see if I keep my eyes shut, I'll get that other fucking wrestler. I can't. What am I supposed to do with one wrestler? Did you ever? Who was the surgeon? McMaster.
McMaster.
Right, Mr. McMaster. Have you ever fucking tracked him down and showed him your videos wrestling?
Mate,
can you fucking imagine like him going, right, we've got this?
I don't know if he's still alive, because he was a good age back then.
Was he?
Aye. If he is alive, you're probably looking at 80s, mid-80s or something like that.
Right.
Do you know what?
That'd have been a good shout, wouldn't it?
That would have been good, wouldn't it?
Like, we've got McMaster.
Can you imagine if I could get him on my podcast?
Oh, what a story that would be.
Fuck me, man.
What a story. Sitting there like fucking
I know.
Experimental surgery, and then they click the B-roll to you. And I was ICW.
It was ICW.
ICW. Fucking, what a story.
Do you know what? Why have I never even thought of that?
See, when you were telling me, I was thinking McMaster, right, putting you back together, right, we're precision cutting out your ribs.
You can rebuild him.
He's like, we're going to this is a 50-50 chance of being success, and all you can hear in your fucking dreamland is the crowd chanting. What was it? The fucking rest of the story?
The whole fucking story.
The whole fucking story.
Aye, so I forgot to tell you, sorry, so they've opened me up, right? They've went in, they've checked it, and they've been like, oh, here, wait a minute. So they've had to remove half of both of my lungs. That's why it took 12 hours. That's why it took 12
half
hours.
of both of your lungs?
Yeah, so I've had 2 lobectomies, it's called. They call it a double lobectomy. So your lungs are in lobes, right? So they've taken away the bottom lobe for both of my lungs. So essentially I've got 1 lung, 2 half lungs.
Yeah.
So that was a major issue with the recovery.
Is this all in the one surgery?
Mate, 12 hours.
Can you imagine your poor mother? Right, you're
on here, stop for the lunch or something.
I bet it's that. We were in, we just fucking took the bottom of his lungs off.
Well, that's the thing. It was either that or do the spinal one, and then for me to have to go back in and get the lung one.
Oh, it's a fuck it. While you're in, just do the whole job.
It was irreversible. The damage was irreversible on both.
So the lungs are done.
The lungs are fucked, man. Absolutely.
And was that because of the curve in the spine, or was it just
the curvature on my spine? If you look at my spine now, the curvature goes out the way. It used to go in the way, but they managed to reverse it. So it's not had a great effect. It's not had a great impact on my life. It's not held me back in any way or anything like that. The only thing is, I can't bend over properly, and see if I fucking drop something in the flare, it's a pain in the arse. That's the only thing that's an issue with it, man. Just picking something up off the floor.
All things considered, that's a fucking huge
it's
win.
Right, innit, man?
That's a huge
it's
win.
It's alright when you think about it. But
that's I mean, as far as here's the rough end of the deal. Like, you drop something, it's going to be a bastard.
Exactly.
Like, you would have took that every day.
She'll tell you if I drop something, I'm like, I'm going to get that. And she's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Aye, alright. But it's like, I woke up for the surgery on the Sunday. Mom went to me, what day is it? I says,
her nerves must have been fucking shattered.
I can't imagine it, man.
Imagine what she's went through.
I know.
What a woman.
Especially, she was, mate.
But like, see, so you're 5 at this point. Do you remember like she's reinforcing this self belief in you before then?
Oh, 100%, man.
Aye.
Everything like going to school, like she would encourage me to go and play for the football team and stuff like that. And after the surgery, I was in a body cast for a full year, right? Like, imagine like a polo neck tank top.
Right.
Imagine that, right? But a stookie. So that's what it wasn't like now. I was putting a full body stookie, right? So
what mobility you got? Like, can you?
everything's.
Is it just like a stiff? Like you can't.
Well, no, it's just like. Could you imagine? Imagine like a kind of bulletproof vest thing, right? But tight to the body.
Yeah.
Right, just like that, right? But same way as if you had a stookie in your arm or whatever, except it's on your body.
I mean, you like. So you're 5 in this. Are you not growing? Like,
well,
does that not come a problem at that point?
But they would take it off and put another one on.
Right.
So the first time I got it took off, it was, I think I had it on for a month, right? And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when I was a kid, I was a Rangers fan. Right, I'm a Celtic fan now. But when I was a young boy, I became a Celtic fan when I was 7, right? But when I was 5, I was a Rangers fan. And my auntie, they would let you have a coloured one, a coloured stookie, right? And my auntie says, I bet you don't get green. And I was like, how much you want to bet? She says, £20. My Aunt Kathleen bet me £20. So she came in to see me, and I was at the hospital, and I was pretending I was really unwell. And I'm lying in the bed, and I whip the cover off, and I've got the green body cast on, and she's like, oh, I can't believe it. Oh, it's the best £20 I've ever spent and stuff like that. But when they took the first one off, I had been eating crisps, right? This is no joke. I'd been eating crisps, and when they cut the body cast off, somehow a crisp had get down into the body cast, and because it was pressed that close, my skin had grown over the crisp.
Oh no!
Right, so
what kind of crisp was it?
Golden Wonder ready salted. That was all I would ever eat when I was a wean, man.
The red packet.
Aye, no, they were blue back in the day. They were dark blue back in the day.
Ah, that's right enough.
Aye, they were dark blue back in the day. But that was it. So I had to get this body cast, like you say. Obviously, I'm growing. They're taking it off, and it was a full year, right? So at the end of the year, they've taken it off, and I wasn't in the consultation because I would remember this. I wasn't in the consultation, and my mum comes out the consultation, and she's rolling green, and I'm like, what's the matter? Oh, nothing. So, by this time, I was 5.5 when I got the operation. This was about 18 months down the line, so I'd just turned 7. And my mum and dad took me to my gran's house. And my gran's like, oh, son, give me a kiss and a cuddle and all that. And she's pure. I can always remember she was pure cuddling me tight and stuff like that. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
You know, something's changed.
So, even as a kid, I'm like, there's something not right here. And I says, why are we going to see my granny so late anyway? I'll never forget, it was a Sunday night, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. And, no reason, we just wanted to go in and see Gran. And I woke up the next day, and Mum's like, packing a bag. I had to go back in and get a fucking another one, didn't I? So I've had 2 full spinal fusions.
Another operation?
Another full spinal fusion surgery. This one was not anywhere near as invasive or as bad as the first one, but because I was a kid, the first time I went in, I didn't know what I was going in for. So I knew that I was going into hospital, but this time they kept it for me because I would have known what I was going in for this time. So they've kept it for me. I went in on the Monday, got the operation on the Tuesday, and this time when I've come out, my legs aren't working. So they basically were like, he's going to have to do about 6 months of physiotherapy or whatever, right? And my mum and dad are like, fucking hell, right? And to this day, there's been a lot that's been on in my life throughout my family, and folk have fell out with folk, and folk have disappeared, and we've not seen them at all for years and years and years. But my Aunt Liz and my Uncle Willie were there all the time. And my Uncle Willie went like, nah, he's not doing 6 months of physiotherapy. He went like that. He took me into I was in a wheelchair, mate, and he took me into the wee playroom in the hospital, because it was a children's hospital, so it was a wee playroom. It had a telly, a video, it had a fucking Nintendo, it had games and stuff like that. And he took me in and he went like that, right, stand up. And he stood me up, right, and he made sure that I was fine on my feet, right? And then he took a step back and he went like that, walked to me. One step, and he took a step back again, and he went, walk to me. And the next thing we knew, I'd walked from one end of the room to the other. And I will forever be grateful to that man for that. You know, seriously, it's just such a, like I said, I don't see him very often anymore. That's for personal family reasons, but he was just, what I say is, I'll forever be grateful to him, because he was, if it wasn't for him, I would have went through a lot more pain and suffering. But he was there, and he sorted it for me. So
how did they know?
I don't know. I don't know to this day. I genuinely don't know. There was movement. What they used to do is they would come in, right, and they would have can you imagine a toothpick, right, but it was thicker. Basically a stick with a pointy end. And they'd do that and they'd flick it up your foot. And I've got the most tickly feet ever, right? I've honestly brutal tickly feet. And there was no hang me. But eventually they done it once and my toe wiggled, and I think that must have been enough for him to go like that, right, let's fucking give this a bash. But it was, to this, the doctor says that I had completely defied medical logic.
Do you remember it?
Like walking? Mm-hmm. Aye, man, I remember.
What was it like?
It was...
Like, what you're looking at him, what is going through your mind? What are you feeling at this point?
Well, I don't know the severity of the situation. I'm only 7 years old, you know what I mean? They've not explained any of it to me. But I remember, there's one that I remember being hooked up to the machines and all of that, and my Uncle Charles coming in and immediately turning around and walking back out. He couldn't. He walked in and he seen me like that, and he turned around and he walked back out, and he was just a mess outside. And it was my gran. My gran went out and went like, get your fucking, that's a wee boy in there, he doesn't need to see you in that, Nick, get fucking in there, kind of thing, do you know what I mean? If he can go through that, you can go through it with him, you know what I mean? So
was he just not wanting you to see him upset, or was he just not handling it? He
wasn't handling it.
Right.
But
your gran was like, fucking get it together.
My gran was a fucking matriarch, mate. What she said, that's what fucking happened. You know what I mean? So it was hard. Don't get me wrong, it was hard. I remember it all.
But you're there. So what was your uncle's name?
Charles.
The one that.
Oh, my Uncle Willie.
Your Uncle Willie's got you there.
He's got.
Do you know something's up? Like, do you know, like, why am I here? What is it you're asking me to do? Like,
why are you acting as if I can't walk? Whereas I'm not even. It's not even registered with me that.
Is he looking right? Is he looking into your eyes, or is he what?
Well, the way I'm looking at you now.
Yep.
No, down there, just looking at me, and under no uncertain terms, it's you walk to me.
Yeah.
Didn't give me an option on it. You know what I mean? So that's what it was, man. And like I say, it completely defied medical logic at the time. Even the doctors were like, I've got no fucking idea what's going on here, how that's happened.
Did you believe him?
The doctors?
No, your Uncle Willie.
What, did I believe him? And
he says, walk to me. Did you just have no doubt that I'll just walk to you?
I'll just walk to my Uncle Willie. You know what I mean? It was mad. I still remember that vividly to this day, because I wouldn't eat anything either. See, after I come out the surgery, like, even a couple of days later, I wouldn't eat anything, and they were worried about me. They were worried about my weight, because I was like a pencil at the best of times, but after that I wasn't eating. And it was him as well that got me to eat. He went down to the hospital canteen and got me sandwiches on fucking Kraft cheese slices. And he went like that. He started eating, he's like, oh, that's great, that. You want to try that?
What did your Uncle Willie do?
He was a publican. It was, what I say is we all lived in each other's pockets, but my Liz and my Uncle Willie lived through in Glasgow, whereas we lived in Coatbridge, so getting to go out to their house was a treat. You know what I mean? It was like he would always make a big song and dance about me and stuff like that, and he's got two boys of his own, Ross and Ryan, and they're like my two closest cousins, you know, so they always have been through ever since I was a kid, but he was like a second dad to me, you know what I mean? He had as much of a hand in my upbringing as my mum and dad did. Maybe not as much, but a massive part of my upbringing.
That was a moment. I mean,
aye, mate, it was
memories come. There's few moments in life, and he's done something special there, and I don't think he's realised what he's done.
And like I said, there's been a lot that's went on with my family and my uncle. My Uncle Willie married into my family. He was, my Aunt Liz is my mum's sister. My Uncle Willie is her ex-husband now, and there's been a lot of water that's went under the bridge. But I never ever said a bad word about him because of what he done for me. So it's something that I'll never say a bad word about him. He can do whatever he wants to do to anybody else. I'll always remember what he done for me. And I think if you take somebody as you find them and don't listen to other words, I think people garner respect by their actions to me. You know what I mean? If somebody does me a good turn, I'm not going to do them a bad turn. And he done me what turned out to be one of the best turns in my life. So,
do you know that?
I think so, man. Aye, I think so. I've spoke to him. I've spoke to him about it. Aye, definitely. He's a character. Let's just say that he's a character.
But did he know what? Like, I always go by this philosophy: you need to be careful who's looking up to you. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that you have no idea who you're inspiring, so it's important what you do. Mm-hmm. It's important the decisions you make. It's important the things that you live by. Like, if there's an opportunity to do something, and do it. If there's a good that you can do, no matter how small you think it is, you don't know what it's doing for somebody else.
Aye.
And that sounds like what your Uncle Willie there has done that.
Aye.
And it's like that thing where he probably doesn't know how important it is, but all the memories of all your life, you remember that. You can remember exactly what it was like. You can remember how he looked. You can remember what you thought. You can remember how you felt. You can remember where you were. You could probably describe the room. You could probably tell me what was in there.
I could be standing in the room right now. You're absolutely right, 100%. But it's, you know, there's a lot of people that get vilified for things, and they don't get the praise that they deserve for the good that they do. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's, like I said, it's something that I'll never be able to repay him, you know. But it's one of my core memories, man. Definitely, no doubt about it.
I can tell, because it's like when you have the moments in your life, you can, like, people can recount stuff, and it's like they're looking at a picture book, right? It's somewhere abstract. It's in there somewhere. When you have the way you're describing it here, it's like we're going back in time.
Aye.
Like, you're standing there.
I genuinely felt as if I've just relived it, man. I've not spoke about that story for a long time, to be honest with you, for a long time. And I've certainly never told it publicly. So
it's how important that is, like, as a principle, right? Because the principle is, like, listening to your life and what you've done. It's like, right, look, seize the opportunity. It's there, right? Something's coming up. Take it with both hands. Do everything that you can, right? And it's like, see if you do that often enough, you're going to land somewhere that somebody's going to look up to you, or there's a chance or a moment where you can do something, and you've got a fork in the road.
Fucking short if they're looking up to me, brother.
Oh, that's true. They might be on their back. You might have fucking clotheslined them.
That's it. Fucking bit the ankles right off them.
To tore them right to the ground.
That's the game.
But this is what I'm saying, is that moment there, a lot of people don't know that he could have just went back into the waiting room. Mm-hmm. He could have just said, okay. He could have just believed the doctor.
Aye. Well, that's it.
But something in him went, no, and that is where you can go, there's a bit of magic. Now, isn't that something we need a bit more of?
Aye.
People knowing that they've got that, and people knowing that they can do that, and people knowing the power of it. A wee bit more of that, don't be too bad a thing.
It was very much the sort of person that wouldn't let you feel sorry for yourself, you know. And I think that's something that a lot of people need in their life as well, man. They
do. They need to toughen up. I mean, like, what was it like for you going through school?
Well,
that's usually a fucking breeding ground, a bit of character building, and that's
certainly. But I'll tell you this right now. See, if you've seen my best mate at school, you would know why I never get any hassle at school.
Who was your best mate at school?
My best mate at school, for primary one, for the first day of primary one, his name's Eugene Callahan, right? And by primary one, he was 5'5". Primary one, right?
Primary one?
Yes. He's now about, what height's Eugene, about 6'7", maybe 6'4", 6'5". He's up there, right?
Big boy.
And he would run through brick walls for me, and I would for him as well. But he's been there for me in a lot of tight fucking squeezes, man. A lot of tight squeezes.
How did you hit it off? Is it
right, there was 40 a table. This is another one that I'll never forget. This is how we became mates, right? There was 40 a table, and because like my bone issues and stuff like that, see, if I was writing for a long time, my hands would get really sore, right? So it was the first day, and we were doing sums, right? And I was writing them in, and my hands were getting sore. But he went like that to me, "Do you want me to write it in for you?" Right? And I said, aye. I was telling him the answers. He was writing them on my bit of paper, then he was writing them on his own bit of paper. He was a fly bastard. He didn't know what he was doing, right?
Aye, good.
But the teacher thought that I was getting him to do my work for me. So she split us up. But then at playtime, we were like, we got into trouble there. We kind of need to watch what we're doing. And we were in primary one, right? So we were pals in primary one. And primary two, me and my mum and dad, we lived in Jackson Street flats as well. We moved out into Coat Dyke, right? Just the Dunbeth area. And who's staying in the same street as me?
Eugene. So
at school, we're together. After school, we're together. He's coming up to my house. My mum's asking him if he wants to stay for dinner. Aye, Mary, does your mum know that you're up here for dinner? Aye, Mary, get dinner at my house, then back down to his bit, and then he'd get dinner at his bit. Now, I'm telling you the height of the country, you know what I mean? He's enormous, right? So it was like little and large, it was like twins. Like Danny DeVito and Arnie, right? And I think that's kind of what everybody's seen, but I would be the one that could talk people down with my mouth, but he would be the one that could put people down with his fists. And we were like a tag team, mate. You know what I mean? We were like a tag team, and we're still tight as fuck to this day. Still to this day, from the first day of primary school right through to now. So that's the reason why I never ever get any bother at school.
You get into wrestling?
Oh, it was him that had the toys. Remember, I was telling you it was him that
had
the
toys.
It was him that had the toys, man.
But he was the one that didn't believe you?
He didn't believe me that I'd seen the wrestling, aye.
Oh, so it's your fucking pal. He's trying to call you out.
Aye, but listen, see, when I was a kid, I was an awful fucking tale teller, man. Talked a lot of shit, man. Honestly, I've got a girlfriend in at my grand's, but one of the guys, you know what I mean? Don't worry, I always did have a girlfriend, an actual real girlfriend though, so...
But Eugene wasn't buying your shite because he
wasn't buying my wrestling shit, right. But it was a true story again.
So he was letting you off with the birds, but no the wrestling.
Aye,
he's fucking calling a halt tat. He's like, no chance.
Listen, I've had enough of this. I've put up your bird piss. I'm not putting up your wrestling.
So it was like just no real kind of grief at school or anything like that growing up, no hassle at all.
Aye, a lot of that's to do with my dad as well, though. My dad was a bit of a boy,
right?
So. Aye.
And like how much it is that and how much it is like your character shining through, because the thing like,
well, that's the thing, I could beat somebody in a fight with my mouth, you know what I mean?
Biting them.
biting her ass. Come here. No, but I was always quick. I was always very quick and
witty, like sharp.
Aye, and I could talk myself out of stuff like that with jokes as well. And I always find that, see, if you can appeal to somebody's sense of humour, you know, don't get me wrong. See, if there's drink involved and people are drunk, then they maybe take jokes the wrong way and stuff like that, and it makes them angrier. But see, the way that I would always do it, I was always a mouthpiece, man. I was always a mouthpiece, and it would get me out of as much trouble as it would get me into something.
So would they get you into trouble, but also got you out of the trouble?
Aye, but if I got into the trouble, then the big man was standing next to me, so we were safe, man.
Very good to
I'll tell you a story, right? So we're in, I'm in, you remember The Edge on Coatbridge Main Street?
No.
It's called Cheers. No, it's called the Level 2 now or something.
Oh,
like
aye,
that, right?
like Eden or something like that.
Eden.
Aye.
Fuck, I'm Level 2. I'm a couple of names past. Aye, so Eden it's called. But downstairs it used to be called The Edge, right? And I got into an argument with a lassie one night, and she put a fucking glass of blackcurrant cider all over me, and I was wearing a brand new
Classy, but
brand
classy.
new white shirt I was wearing, man.
Yeah,
Right?
bastard.
I was gutted. It was a Beltria shirt, and I'd bought it that day. Right, so she get thrown out, and she's like, I'm going to get my boyfriend to butt fuck out you. I was like, alright, no bother. So I had no idea who her boyfriend was. No idea. And the next week I'm in The Edge, and all my mates are whatever, they're all over the place, right? And this guy corners me. Now, there used to be a puggy in The Edge, right? He corners me at the puggy, and he's went like that. Aye, where's all your fucking mates now? Fucking talk to my bird like this and blah blah blah. I went like that. Listen mate, I says your bird was steaming and she had a go at me. I was just getting her verbal back, that's all it was. He went like, aye, well I tell you what, you're no fucking getting away with it. Where's all your pals now? And just as he said that to me, I've looked behind him, and on the dance floor, because of the height of him, he's head and shoulders above everybody else. Big Eugene's looked over, and he's seen me, and he's went, look, his mouth, you alright? And I went, shook my head. I went like that. Well, it's funny you should say that, mate, because there's one of them coming right now. He's come down now. Have you seen Rocky 4?
Mm-hmm.
See the bit where Ivan Drago lifts the boy at the side of the ring? This is no joke, I'm not kidding on. That's what Eugene done. The boy turned round and he went like that. See, if you're wanting to get to him, you need to go through me first. And he fucking lifted him off the ground with one hand like that, with the throat. Now, he's a fucking wrecking machine, this guy, I'm no kidding on, but he is the nicest man that you'll ever meet in your life. But see, if you cross anything belonging to him, you can say whatever you want to him. Mm-hmm. See, if you cross anything belonging to him, that's it. You're wrote off, man.
Game off.
I just love him.
Did he not get into the wrestling? He sounds like he'd be a right good fucking character in there.
Do you know what, mate? We done enough wrestling when we were wee boys for me to know that he's no safe.
He's not safe because you'd fucking take him.
No, he's no safe because he's just.
I hope you bravado at saying, I'll fucking take you.
He's a bit, what, me and Big Eugene?
Aye,
He knows I'd not fuck it.
Aye, you should let him, don't let him fucking forget that. See, look,
absolutely no doubt.
I know all the moves that worked.
That's it, exactly. I know, and I know, do you know, I know the dirty moves that nobody else knows.
Aye. See, like, don't call me the conscience for no reason.
Ric Flair with thumb in the eye, you know that shit.
Oh, he's got to pull the moves.
Did you see the video of Ric Flair getting flung at the bar?
No.
Mate, you need to watch this, man.
It's funny you talk about like Ric Flair, right? Because see, my missus, she would say to me like, your usual shite, like, you know, you're fucking too confident, you're too full of yourself, you're this, that, the next thing, you know, all that sort of stuff. You drink and you're just fucking this sort of over the top character. And then we were on holiday in Mexico, and it was, I don't know how the topic of fucking wrestling came up. I'm sure it was on the telly at the sports bar.
Mexico. Everybody talks about wrestling every half an hour.
It must have just fucking felt I could feel the energy, man. I could feel my inner fucking Latino heat coming out.
Lucha Libre, bro.
Oh, I could feel it. And we were talking about wrestling. Who was your favourite wrestler growing up? And I was like, as I remember, I said, what the match always followed. I liked Bret Hart at the start and all that sort of stuff. Who was your favourite wrestler So like Ric Flair. But you gave me fucking shite for all the antics, and the guy that you like is the way I fucking
This
act.
is your missus saying
That's my
this?
missus.
I thought you were talking to a Mexican guy.
No.
Your missus' favourite was Ric Flair.
My missus' favourite
was...
was...
you ever pumped her?
I don't think so. I don't think she rode Space Mountain.
Oldest ride, longest line.
Oh,
I love that, man.
what was it he said? I don't care if it's Mary on my left or Janie on the right. You will not be the first, but you could be the next.
That is my favourite line he has is, they call me Space Mountain because I'm the oldest ride, but I've got the longest line.
That's class.
Aye.
His promos that used to cut were priceless. He's the Godfather.
He loved the gimmick, man. He loved the gimmick. He was like, there was two people that proper lived the gimmick, and it was him and $1 Million Man. $1 Million Man.
Did $1 Million? I didn't know that.
Vince McMahon, when he signed him, right, was like, we want you to live the gimmick. I'm going to bankroll you to live like a millionaire, right? Stretch limos, private jets, always had at least $10,000 on him in cash, always, right? And they put Virgil with him as a bodyguard because in case anybody tried, everybody knew, like, the guy was running about flinging money about willy-nilly. I
take it you were unavailable at the bodyguard at this point.
There was obviously the race thing with Virgil and $1 Million Man, where essentially Virgil they were harking back to the slave days kind of thing with him, you know what I mean? So right. There's always that tinges that character slightly for me. But
was there? I didn't know that. I remember Virgil, but I didn't remember there being like a race side to it.
But it was essentially his slave, mate.
Was he?
You know what I mean? And it's, like I said, it harks back to a time where we want to forget about. So, but the actual $1 Million Man character himself was incredible. They made a belt, the $1 Million title.
I remember it, aye.
Real gold and diamonds. You know what I mean?
Did they not film it picking up the jewellery store and all that?
That's right. And he was wearing a cape and all that. I remember, for some fucking reason. Why are you wearing a cape? You're not a superhero. But it was, back to that sort of thing, man. It was great. It was fucking outstanding, man. It was great. But that's what I'm saying. They live the life, and Ric Flair forgets now that he's a near 80-year-old man. And still, he's challenging folks to a fight at this bar. No, you need to see this video, man. It's wild.
Can you see it?
Only I get released earlier.
Yeah, get it. Get it sent.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I've got 98 fucking texts for coming here. Right, hold on. I was nearly on Big Bra.
You don't let me use your own fucking tag against you. What's the whole fucking story? What is it? Tell them the whole story.
The whole fucking story.
The whole fucking story. What do you mean you were nearly on Big Brother?
I was nearly on Big Brother, mate. I was away in hiding in France. 2 seconds, hold on. I don't have your number. It's not. Oh, wait a minute, I can send it here. Twitter, mate, aye.
Aye.
Right. I'm sending you on Instagram, but it's a Twitter link.
Is it still styling and profiling?
Styling, profiling.
Yeah, that was the thing. There was the 4 horsemen. That's where they came from. Was it? What was it? What was that? Federation.
WCW.
Was it before that?
NWA.
NWA.
Aye, NWA for the 4 horsemen. Aye, but no, Sammy's right. There's what other stories have we got? We've got the aye, but cool. That was just.
How the fuck do you end up in all these situations?
That's right. Smoking weed with Snoop Dogg.
How the fuck did that come about?
This is a story that I've actually told on my own podcast, but it was what happened was we were in it was in the academy, right, the Glasgow Academy, and we went to see Snoop Dogg. It was last minute. We got tickets last minute. We went to see Snoop Dogg, and there's this big, massive, muscular black guy standing next to us. I'm like, I bet you that's Snoop's security. So I walked over to him and I went like that. Me and you could put on a better show than this big man. And he went like, why don't you tell that to Dog? I went like, what do you mean? He went, follow me. He took me backstage. So I watched the rest of it, but he took me backstage, but we walked in between the barrier, see where the front of the crowd is in the stage. We walked in between the barrier and Snoop Dogg stopped. Honestly, stopped halfway through the song and he went like, hey, what's up, little man? And give me a 5, like a handshake. I was like, that was fucking cool, man. And we went backstage, and there was a line the length of fucking Sucky Hall Street of birds backstage, all waiting to go in and meet Snoop Dogg. So we went up, the bouncer took me up, and I watched the rest of the gig for the side of the stage. And then he took me into the dressing room, and I walked in, mate, and you couldn't see fucking 5 inches in front of you for the smoke, right? I've got a photo of me and him, and it's pure blurry because the room's that smoky, right?
But you can see it in the picture.
You can see how... it
looks like Cheech and Chong. They're in the motor.
Aye. So I went in, and he had a fucking joint, mate. It was ridiculous, right? And he's like, what's up, little man, you smoke? I was like, I'm not going to turn down a joint off of Snoop Dogg, you know what I mean? I was like, aye. Smoked a joint with Snoop Dogg, man. And then...
You must have a horseshoe up your arse.
Do you know what? See, to be honest with you...
Have you had any bad luck?
Did you hear about my operations that I had in that? Losing my lung and stuff like that? No.
Fucking, that was easy for you.
Aye, so...
is that your punishment for all this luck?
I think that's my penance.
That's
my 5 Hail Marys. It's my 5 Hail Marys because I'm not religious anymore.
You've fucked it. You must have done something wrong somewhere along the lines. This is your
either that, or I've done something right in a past life, and this is me getting the prizes for it.
Oh, Charm Skill 101.
You know what I mean?
Oh, still got it. I'd love to have you back because I think we could fucking go for hours.
100%, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and hear about all your twists and tales.
Thanks very much.
I would love to know if McMaster is still alive. Surely
I'm going to look into that.
Somebody needs to locate this man, and if there's any justice in the world, that surgeon will be alive, and we need to fucking show him.
He was Irish. Mr. McMaster. Spinal. Let's have a look. Shall we have a look and see if we can find that?
Fucking must be.
It wasn't Dr. McMaster, obviously. He was a surgeon, so it was Mr. McMaster. McMaster, spinal surgeon. I think I might have made him up. Remember I was telling you about the lies I used to tell?
Tall tales. You know who we need to ask? We need to ask your bird that around at your granny's, because she'll know.
Aye, listen, don't talk too much about her.
No, keep it on the quiet.
Aye. Listen, mate, it's been fun, man. I've enjoyed myself.
It's been good.
I'm fucking raging that I put it off so long. She kept on at me.
Good on her, she's good.
Aye, Gio wants you on the podcast. And I was like, who the fuck's Gio? Then I had a wee watch some of your episodes, and I was like, do you know what? Fuck it, in for a penny.
Do you know, it was the one that I thought I was like, I need to get. I was like, this is what I'm after. This is the pattern that we're looking for. I think it was a clip where you were doing gore. Somebody had sent me it.
Gore?
Aye. There's always somebody in the pub that's got fucking gore, like gore videos.
And I'm the
one.
I was fucking
killing myself. I was fucking killing myself laughing.
Fucking Grado, man. He's a prick. He's always sending me the videos. So he is. I send him the one all right enough.
We've got a boy that goes in the gym.
Aye.
He is terrified of flying. Right. Now, the worst thing you can tell me is that you fucking have a fear of something. I've sent him that many clips of plane failures, crashes, hydraulic failures, fucking I am literally a filing cabinet of every air crash investigation. I don't even need to send them now.
What's your favourite one?
The plane crashes. One that comes to mind's Concorde. I like the one with Concorde.
I think that was the first one that I really remember, but Tenerife's a badging.
That was a fucking brutal one. The P-suit. The Japan Airlines. That was the single largest one after the Tenerife.
Aye, Tenerife's the
because that was the one where
530 bodies.
The Japan Airlines one was the tail had ripped off because they were doing. Do you know about this one?
No, man.
Right, so they designed the flights to last a certain amount of flying hours, and the idea would be that the plane would take off, it would fly for 4 hours, it would land, and the idea they would calculate it based on this. Well, in Japan, because of the islands, these aeroplanes are doing hops all the time rather than long distance.
Yep.
So they're under the stress much more through the takeoff and landing. So the rear bulkhead had a strike in one of the landings. So they'd repaired the bulkhead. This thing has just, with the amount of takeoffs, it's still within the allowable hours before it needs to be inspected. And it's went up and it's fucking, the rear bulkhead's ripped off, and the Japan Airlines has crashed into Mount Fiji.
Oh, man.
And it's the single largest death toll on a single plane disaster.
Aye, because the Tenerife one was the two planes. That was KLM.
That was two 747s, KLM and
I can't mind.
Oh, like a Johannesburg or somewhere. Maybe that was where the flight was from.
Hawaiian Airlines, was it?
No, I know the one you're on about. That was the one with the roof that ripped off.
So it was.
And the air stewardess had fucking disappeared through the hole in the roof.
Yep.
I think that was the first one I said.
To be fair, seeing a plane crash, that's the way you want to go.
You just want it quick.
Aye,
you don't want this sort of, am I going to survive? Just right out
definitely.
The game.
Definitely. That's, do you know what is it they say? It's not the crashing, it's the waiting to.
It's the anticipation of the whole thing.
To,
and I like to get about at least a 3-month run to see as soon as I find out he's booked something. I want that anticipation to really build for a great length of time. And it really messes with him because he's like, I know how cold you are. He says the plane would be going down and you'd be sitting looking at your wine gums counting how many red ones you had left. He's like, I don't know how you're so like cold.
I think you just need to accept your fate in that situation.
It's like you're in a flying fucking tin can
full of farts, as Funky Boyle
just
says.
a fart tube going to 500 miles an hour. Like what the fuck? What do you want to do?
It's weird as fuck, man. Because obviously I know the whole the motion sort of thing, but when you're up there, you don't feel as if you're moving at all, man, and you're going 500 miles an hour.
Have you ever had the one where have you ever had this one with the train going at the speed of light? So the train's going at the speed of light, right? It's rotating around the earth 7 times a second, right? If you are in the train and it's just below the speed of light, now they say in physics they believe that nothing material can travel faster than the speed of light. So nothing biological. So if you've got the train that's just below the speed of light and you walk forward in the carriage, are you going faster than the speed of light?
That's a fair point, actually.
That's one that I've fucking pondered over for a bit too long.
Yeah, it's sort of hang fox. I don't know. I don't have the mental capacity to take that on right at this moment.
We'll leave that one. I'll leave you to let that one simmer.
Do you want to know a secret?
Go for it.
I'm absolutely fucking terrified of flying.
Are you?
Terrified of flying.
I've got fucking everything you need.
But I'll tell you this now.
Are you captivated by it? But like, see when you see these things, is it like you
see if there's a plane crash? Aye, definitely. And I've got wee things in my head when I'm getting ready to go on a flight. I've got wee things in my head which make me think, right, we're going to be alright. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, but it's my own stupid head. Sammy's been on planes with me before. She'll tell you. I'm some nick in her. Some nick.
Okay, but we'll finishing this one. I'll give you a quick story before we fucking wrap up. I'm sitting next to a guy on a flight who is fucking petrified. Right? And we're coming into Glasgow Airport. I'm in the aisle seat. He's in the middle seat. Right? And we're sort of mid level so we can see the wings. So I clock that he's fucking terrified. You can tell perspiration gripping the seat, the fucking uneasiness. Like, oh, he's fucking not liking this. So for whatever reason, the pilots had to do a go around, and I'm started to fucking write out a text to the missus, and I'm like, look, just wanted to let you know that I love you. Things aren't going well. I can see outside the window, the pilots just had to go around. There's been a malfunction in the ailerons. I can see it here and we've not got any option. I think we're going out to the sea to dump the fuel. And I'm writing the text. The guy's fucking watching me writing the text. He is fucking petrified. Like,
you are a scumbag. Absolute scumbag. Do you know what? I've only ever been on a plane once on my own. Right. I've always been going on holiday with friends or family or just friends or family, right? And I'll tell you the Big Brother story next time I come on, right? But part of it was I had to go down to London on my own and I had to fly down, right? And I sat down it was British Airways, which for some reason always makes me feel safer. I know it's got fuck all to do with
It's
it.
the fucking programming.
Yes, it's the adverts, right? But this guy's sitting next to me, and it was the first morning flight out of Glasgow down to London, and the guy's like that to me. He's like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "No, mate." He's like,
You could see it straight away.
He's like, "What's the matter?" I says, "I'm fucking terrified of flying." Do you know, during the takeoff, I held this stranger's hand, a guy that I've never met before in my life. And then, see the second the fasten seatbelt sign goes off, I'm fine. I'm honestly fine. It's the takeoff gets me, and if there's any sort of hint of turbulence, I'm terrified. I know that a plane can't be taken down by turbulence unless it's fucking ridiculous turbulence, you know what I mean? But I held a strange man's hand.
Was it more awkward for him or for you? Did you have a moment?
When I looked, he had a stoner. So
did you hold it?
I hold that in all my man.
So listen, I've got another hand. You might as well make use of it. We don't know if we're getting out of this alive.
I started writing up my text. I've had a look out the window and
say, listen, I've got one last shot. He's here. What can I do?
I've never tried it before.
Look, I'm not going out. Fuck it. I'm not going out without giving it a go.
It's like that. Seen it? Have you seen Almost Famous?
No.
No. The plane's going down, and they're all panicking like fuck, and they're saying their last words to each other, and one of the guys shouts, "I'm gay," and then as he says it, the plane goes bing, and the fasten seatbelt sign goes off, and everybody's just looking at him like that.
Oh, he's fucked it.
And he's like, "Oh no, that's it. I fucking said it now. Wish that plane had crashed." But no, I'm terrified of flying, mate. Terrified of flying. Terrified of flying. Terrified of spiders. Terrified of needles.
Aye.
That's it.
Yeah, so not bad.
It's because I was a pincushion when I was away. No,
in the hospital.
Aye, man. Hellish.
I'll teach you how to catch spiders. You'll get over your fear like that.
Aye, you're right, man.
Easy. That's why the missus used to be afraid of spiders, and she would.
Is this your mindset, Hank?
Aye, the missus be terrified of it, and when she had the boys, I taught the boys for as young as they could. As young as they could ably catch a spider, I would catch a spider and let the spider crawl over and make a web down them, and they would be like, "Oh, cool, we'll go and catch a spider."
Aye,
and it's complete. See her seeing them catching spiders, totally gone. She's like, not got any fear of it at all.
I've got loads and loads of mates that will do that. I'm still terrified of them. And you want to know something? I think it's hereditary. Do you want to know why I think it's hereditary? Because my wee boy was crawling in the hallway before he could walk, and a spider ran along, and he started crawling backwards and started greeting. I was like, "That's my boy.
Aye,
it's my boy. At least I know he's definitely mine." I tell you what, mate. See, if you seen my boy, I couldn't deny him, could I?
It's bad image.
She played a voice note on her phone for him today, and I was in the kitchen. She was in the living room. I was like, "Oh, when did I send her that?"
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's ridiculous. It's like I spat him out.
Brilliant.
It's great, but he's a good boy. Never gives us any bother. And just fucking, I don't know, man. We're going to see Tenacious D tomorrow night. I'm taking him to his second ever concert, so.
Superb.
Aye, it'll be good.
Good stuff. Well, that's as good a place as any to end. Pleasure having you on. Thanks for